Welcome everyone to another episode of the Group Up Podcast. We're here for the metal rank debate, where we're going to be discussing, as you guys often ask, the issues of the average player. No more GM top 500 elite streamers, no more top 1% propaganda. We're hearing from the average, the normal players, the human beings, the non-sweaties. So we've got a lot to discuss. So I will first introduce my guests. In the bottom right is a longtime friend and longtime mischief maker, Lemonkiwi. Lemon, what's up?
What's up? You're actually in my bottom right, so I thought you were self-introducing.
I mean, yeah, sure. I am my own longtime friend. That's true. Not always.
The amazing me.
Yeah, exactly. First up, it's your boy.
That would make the most sense.
I'm going to be talking about in relation to my screens, just for the clarity of the podcast. In the bottom left on my screen is the GOAT, Bame. Bame, what's up?
What's up, guys? How you doing, man? I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, SVB.
No, happy to have you. Thank you. Pleasure for all these guys. I'm really grateful that they've joined me. And speaking of, in the top left with her awesome, is that Squishmallows in the background? Cuppcaake.
Yeah, Squishmallow
Welcome
Queen.
to the. I know. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I feel seen and valid to be here. So thank you for having a metal rank debate.
I know. I think people always ask me. I think this is a good time to address this question that comes up on the podcast a lot, which is that people frequently say, SCP, why don't you have more metal rank players in the calls? You know, there's not enough of them. So there's a couple things. One, there's just not that many content creators who are not the GM, right? This is the nature of it, is that you tend to get popular if you're very good at the game, if you're like one of the elite and the pro players. And I feel this pain as someone who's not always been at the highest rank. So it's harder to become prominent as a content creator, I think, if you're not GM. And then in terms of getting random plebs to come on the call, I only bring on people I trust, right? I only bring on I only bring on content creators, people with a platform.
Plebs.
Nice.
Well, I mean plebs as in random people. Like people will be like,
kidding.
I'll get DMs from people. I get like at least a DM a week from someone random being like, I am random Joe Blogs, but I promise you, CB, I'll be fire on the podcast. Just bring me on. I've got great takes. Just trust me, bro. Source, trust me, bro.
Trust me.
So I try and bring on content creators who have an accountability. You know, they have a reputation to keep. They have a community who trusts them and who's validated their opinion to some extent, although especially with Lemon, they're always sus opinions regardless.
That's crazy. What the fuck?
We've made tier list, Lemon. I know how your opinions are. I know how bad your opinions go.
They're not bad. They're just special. Okay.
They're just special. Okay, that's what you tell yourself. So for some of those reasons and a couple others we won't get into, you know, we don't usually get a lot of representation from the metal ranks on the podcast, but here we are. We're gonna discuss these specifics now. We're gonna talk about all the metal rank issues, but first I figured it might be helpful to the listeners to actually understand what you represent in terms of your experiences for ranked Overwatch. So we'll go around the table, as it were, and if you guys want to briefly describe, like, you know, this is the ranks that I've played at, this is where I've climbed from, this is where I normally play, and maybe also a bit of insight into just your role and your general feelings. So we'll start with Cuppcaake. Cuppcaake, give us a breakdown of your ranked journey.
Oh goodness, it's been a long journey because I've been playing since Overwatch 1. I was in the first beta of Overwatch 1, so I've been playing for a very long time. And I've been kind of all over the place. So in my early days of playing Overwatch, I was very focused on climbing and my rank, and I hit Masters, and then I even hit GM a couple times. But then, like, I kind of started to realize that that wasn't really my priority. So I just focus on doing the best that I can and playing well, but not necessarily my rank. Like, my goal is not like, oh man, I gotta make it to GM or I gotta make it to Masters. It's just not there for me. I just want to have good experiences, have good games, feel like I'm doing well, like just focusing on myself, because there's a lot of times where you know, if you're relying on your random teammates as a solo queue player, you're going to have a hard time and you're going to get frustrated, and it's going to cause a lot of negative emotions and feelings that I'm just not wanting to experience. So I quickly just kind of stopped focusing on ranks about like halfway through Overwatch 1. And I also started branching out and really trying to learn multiple heroes and not just like one tricking. So I used to play like a lot of Mercy, and then Ana came out and I was like, ooh, she's cool. So then I started playing pretty much only Ana, and that's when my rank fell down to like plat, obviously, because I, you know, I was still learning her. But then as time went on, I kind of just stayed in plat, and I realized like I'm kind of okay with that. Like I would fluctuate a lot between like plat, diamond, sometimes masters, and then back to diamond, and then I've been pretty consistently in plat, although I have hit diamond and masters once in Overwatch 2, but I wasn't there for very long. Like I said, that's okay. It's not my goal because I can't rely on a bunch of random people all day, every day. I think it'd be different if I had like people I was playing with or that I could trust, but I like to solo queue. It's just, I'm weird, I guess, but in my experience, being in plat is where I have the most fun. So I'm oddly really happy being in like plat diamond, because I've noticed once I hit like masters and stuff, people are a lot meaner and like sweatier, and I meet some really cool people in plat, and I feel like there's a lot of people that don't experience that, which I'm like, I don't know why I'm getting different games than you, but I rarely have toxic people. I rarely have like hateful comments towards me, and it's really actually enjoyable. So I'm happy in plat. Don't come at me, chat.
No, I mean, there's not always a choice of where you are. Some people are happy in plat, some people are unhappy in plat, but it's
Yeah.
it's better to be
I mean,
happy than unhappy.
Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of issues, and I have like a long list of like issues that I encountered that I'm happy to talk about today. But just overall, I just want to make it clear that like I don't even like to say like, oh, I'm hard stuck plat, because I feel like that would only be true if I was like really focusing on climbing to like masters or GM or whatever, and
Mhm.
I'm not.
Mhm.
So, and I think it's nice having like plat streamers to relate to, because
Sure.
like you said, most of them are top 500 or GM or whatever, and that's just not a realistic goal for everybody. You know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah.
happy to like be here in plat and relate to all of you like just average players. Because like we exist. Okay, we're here
Yeah.
too. We're having a good time.
My mom says I'm above average.
Hello guys, SEB here, and the Goop Up podcast is back, and I'd like to take just 30 seconds of your time to talk to you about two quick things. Firstly, Patreon. If you enjoy the content, then please do consider supporting directly, because Patreon takes only about 10% of the money you give, where YouTube and Twitch take 40 and 50% respectively. So if you'd like to support the podcast, then that is the best way to do so. Secondly, if you're someone who enjoys video essays or detailed analysis of movies, TV, or anime, then please do check out my second channel, The Soak, where I'll be making videos about those kind of topics much more frequently, and where a lot of my attention will go beyond just Overwatch. It would mean the absolute world to me if you guys would check it out, but that's it for now. Let's head back to the discussion.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely get into all those issues that you want to talk about as we go,
Yeah.
and absolutely I agree with that sentiment, and we'll elaborate on that sentiment as well, of just not everyone can reach the highest. I mean, by its very definition, not everyone can reach, GM and whatnot. But thank you for that little introduction. Let's take it to Bame next. Bame, give us a breakdown of your journey, your ranked journey.
yeah, sure. I've been playing online FPS games since 1997 on a PC when I was a freshman in college with Quake 1. Played a weird capture the flag mod, not that three-wave stuff, but it's something different, like 3.14 or whatever. So I've been playing for a long time, right? And I was actually really cracked back then, believe it or not. I've got some screenshots maybe printed off in the basement. Maybe I can't find them. But then I played a lot of MMOs. Like I played EverQuest, World of Warcraft, and Guild Wars 2 for like 18 years. So supposedly I bought Overwatch when it first came out. It must have been so bad I don't even remember procuring it. On my ancient Blizzard account, I was also a hardcore StarCraft player back in the day too, SCB, by the way.
Based.
So my Blizzard account is really old. So I started playing Overwatch, like one of my mods played it, and I started watching them play it, and I'm like, this looks all right, I'll give it a try. So around April 2019 is when I started getting into it. I think Ball was out when I first started playing, but my first season, I think season 8, I had 2 hours on Torb, and then the next season I had 2 hours on Ball, and then I had 40 hours on Ball. And I just kept balling since then, man. So
Ballin'.
yeah, absolutely. I think because like talking about SR and all that stuff, I think because I bought the game when it first came out, maybe played one game and said F this noise, I think my account like really plummeted in SR. So when I started playing Overwatch, I was fucking bronze, dude. Less than 500, bro. I think I was less than 500 and everything. And I loved Wrecking Ball because the grappling hook is the same as in my Quake 1 mod. So like the grappling hook was natural to me and probably nobody else in the world really, right? So I really liked Ball. Plus Ball is fast and like independent. And that's how I was playing Guild Wars 2. I played a Thief, which is really fast and independent also. So the style just stuck with me, right? So I was able to kind of climb out of bronze with Ball first. But man, my DPS and support, I played Torb and Zen mostly. Those guys were stuck in bronze for like 2 years. Man, those bronze games are wild, bro. Like, I mean, we can talk about that later, but man, bronze is a hell. If you guys haven't been down there for a long time, like, you don't even understand.
Never been there. Never.
You haven't?
I don't want to.
Oh, bro.
No, I've
We
never
can
been
talk
lower
about
than
that later.
gold.
All right. Yeah, try spending a couple years down in bronze.
Yeah.
I've heard horror stories.
Oh, I've seen Bame's games. I've seen some of the bronze games. So yeah, you've climbed up as high as diamond. Is that correct, Bame?
Yeah, I think season 4 I got diamond 4, and like I think that was a weird season for ranks. Like
that's when
season
I hit
3 and 4 I hit
Masters.
diamond.
Yeah, I was like, I don't belong here.
Right? I think there was something going on those 2 seasons. Same with me. Like I don't think I was really ever legitimately diamond, to be honest. Whatever they were doing that season, whatever, it's fine. It is what
we
it is.
can say it.
Self-aware.
So I've been chilling mostly in plat. Although, dude, Ball is bad, right? Like last time I looked at Overbuff, least played character. So I've been mostly platinum and gold, but this season and last season I actually went to silver, and then in 8 days, both seasons I went back up to platinum. Like it seems weird, man. I don't know. I only have one account. I stream every day. All my comp games are streamed on Twitch. I mostly solo queue, and like I'm recognized in half my lobbies. Like I feel like, you know, people say Unranked to GM. I feel like that's the ultimate hard mode of Overwatch. Play like that, right? Like if I wanted to climb just like Cuppcaake, maybe I could if I like played off stream. You know, I got a bunch of homies that would carry the shit out of me if I wanted, right? But like I'd want to get there, you know, my way, and I don't really let SR dictate my happiness too much.
That's right.
It's like a measure, and I still have fun, man. Jeez, I might even drink some beers when I play once in a while, right? So I'd say that's kind of my summary of my Overwatch.
That's
Okay.
awesome. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so we're getting a good picture. You've kind of been through, you've been through the trenches there, the bottom 500. So those of you who are only new to Overwatch and Overwatch 2 will not know that in Overwatch 1 there was, you know, you had your number and it would range from 500 to, you know, whatever. There was like a 6,000 SR cap or something eventually. But there was an area known as below 500, which is that below that you just wouldn't even get a number. It just said below 500. And so Bame has been as low as there, and he's come up to diamond. So we're getting a good range here. Lemon, you're the elite one here. What is your journey?
I'm surprised she's blessed us with her presence, to be honest.
Oh my god, no, I'm glad you also hit Master Saw, because I was like, wait, does this make me think I'm flat? Wait.
I mean, I've seen you. I've duoed with you.
Him, but
I've duoed with you, so
I've played like a plat with you, so I understand why I'm here. But I think I've had a really weird, unique experience. So I don't remember. I actually started as a DPS player, and because I came from Call of Duty, and I didn't want to touch Overwatch. I was like, what's that cartoony dog shit? I don't know. But someone was like, oh, soldiers like Call of Duty. So I got on and was like a soldier Pharah main, which back then wasn't that bad. I don't even know how long ago back then was. But when I started playing with friends, I realized that like nobody wanted to play tank, support, whatever. So I was always like the filler of like, okay, I'll play tank, I'll play support, and my friends could have fun playing DPS. So then I just became like naturally a tank main because like before we had role queue, you had like somebody had to play tank, and I was always the one who felt like, okay, well, I'd rather play tank, someone who's has experience playing tank, than anyone else in this lobby doing it for the first time. So I would play a lot of off tank. And then yeah, just went. I think I got to masters just this past season or two. In tank, well, like obviously in solo tank era. And then probably diamond on support. But I feel like my experience is unique because I don't play the game enough to like maybe know a true rank. But I study the game enough, and obviously cast Overwatch League, where I feel like I have a good understanding of GM top 500 Overwatch League type of play, and we can get into like the issues that causes. But I'm in that weird area, and then kind of the same thing as Bane. Like if someone recognizes you in the game, they're either gonna do two things: they're either gonna throw or they're gonna like try super hard. And then like the whole trying to getting into the issues of that of like trying to communicate at that rank. But yeah, I'll just answer the question briefly of just saying I've reached masters on tank, diamond support, and I guess we'll get into the issues later.
Yeah. So again, we've seen a good range. You've been through the metal ranks, and you've kind of climbed out to diamond and master, which are technically not metal ranks, but again, I think will be illustrative to have people just not GM basically is the main goal of this call, is just have people who are not in the 1%. Even diamond is 10%, which is still great job on getting. All three of you have gotten 2 diamonds, so great job on being the top 10% of the player base, or at least that's where I remember. It might have changed around in Overwatch 2, but yeah, the majority of people will be plat and gold. So we'll talk about all those issues, and I want to get into the specific things that take place in the metal ranks and balance that you guys feel is different, and other stuff like communication and things that the top 500 community take for granted that you guys experience, all of those things. But I do think it's appropriate for us to, before we get into that, is just to have a quick talk about the recent Blizzard layoffs, because I think it would be remiss of us to not touch on it. This is obviously, on this podcast, we do try and talk about things that are happening, and this is a big news in the Overwatch sphere, which is that now that the Microsoft takeover is basically in full flow now, I believe it's 1,900 employees. So yeah, just double check this. 1,900 employees from Activision Blizzard King were let go by Microsoft and Xbox. I think also Xbox is included in that. So a huge number of layoffs, and it's not just stuff that's merger things. So I've seen there's been a lot of discussion on this as the news is broken, and some people assume that, oh well, it must just be like an HR department, because you don't need 2 HR departments for Microsoft and Blizzard. But actually, it goes far beyond that. Senior members, everyone from senior members to junior members are being let go. People in the narrative team, people in customer support, people in hero design, people in level design. It's just been a wide-ranging hit of people getting let go of. So I figured it would be appropriate for us to just talk about it for a moment. I'll get my thoughts out, and then I'll be curious as to your guys' thoughts. If you have anything you want to add on the issue, I know a couple of you have interesting things you want to say. From my POV, firstly, of course, just our sort of hearts go out to the people affected. It is never ever easy to lose your job. It is, one of the worst sort of feelings you can have, of just kind of helplessness. Often, if you're not secure in that situation. Not to mention that working for Activision Blizzard, they've kind of been, in recent years, really been pushing people to work locally, to be able to commute into the office, which means that they often had to relocate if they weren't already living in Irvine, California. It's a very expensive place to live. So losing your job is going to put huge jeopardy on your living situation. So just a shitty situation to be. And I think in the wider climate of gaming, where we're seeing layoffs happen more and more, it's just a shitty time for gaming in that sense, because gaming is super profitable. I know they had a dip last year, but it's been back up in terms of the overall revenue for gaming as an industry has been back up this year. And we often see, record profits be posted by gaming companies. Microsoft is now worth $3 trillion. and Riot as well laid off a bunch of people despite, being on the face of it a pretty successful company. So it is a pretty shitty situation to be in a space where gaming is so popular and yet the developers who keep making great games still end up being laid off. And it doesn't seem like it ever affects the bonuses and the CEO paychecks that come through. I know Bobby Kotick had shares in Activision Blizzard, but he walked away with $400 million of a payout. To put into context of, hundreds of developers being let go, his payout would have paid their salary and then some. So it's a rough situation to be in. I know for some people, they view their criticisms of games and criticisms of games like Overwatch as the justification for stuff like this. And of course, that's not to say that as a corporate takeover, there isn't going to be layoffs. There isn't going to be some people who are going to be let go because the new company's going to come in. They're going to want to do it their own way. They're going to hire their own people. But it's definitely not something to celebrate, I think, is the loss of people's livelihood. Even if you have, gripes with Overwatch, the developers have worked very hard. They're very passionate. And whatever gripes we may have with the outcomes of Overwatch 2, I think this is definitely a time to extend sympathies and hope that it gets better. Because when, I spoke to Jared last, he was conveying that the feeling in the Overwatch team is really good now, that they really feel like they've finally found what they need to do. They finally found their groove, and they're ready to start doing productive shit. And once more, Overwatch is hit with things outside of their control that are kind of screwing them over. So I feel bad for the Team 4 that always seem to get meddled with because of hierarchy, and it always seems to stop them making the games they want to make. But all I can say is my condolences, and if there's any way that creators can help, let us know, and I hope that all those affected are quickly able to find something that they are passionate about equally. Okay, that's enough from me. I want to hear you guys' opinions. I'll take it to Lemon first. Lemon, you obviously, you're quite directly involved with Blizzard, and I know it won't be the Team 4, but you've seen people suffer through a similar thing with Overwatch League. So how do you feel about this whole situation?
Yeah, it's I think really tough. I think although it's maybe not the same circumstance, I feel like even casting can be as insecure as just like the tech world and what it's experiencing right now. I have friends who've been laid off, and it's hard to transfer those skills as a caster to like another game or to find a different job. And now with like every company experiencing layoffs, you can't just be like, I'm gonna go to Riot or I'm gonna go to this. And especially when indie companies, I would assume, don't quote me on that, are probably not paying as well as like a Riot or Blizzard. And when everyone's getting laid off, like where are the spots going to be? So it is incredibly sad. I want to say like we all saw this coming with like Microsoft coming in. I saw some tweets saying like there was going to be like duplicate departments, and then one of those departments was going to have to disappear. Things that didn't materialize in Overwatch, whether it's like the PvE or what is it, like the physical copy of games department, whatever. And it doesn't matter whether it makes sense or not. It matters the fact that like people's dream jobs got taken away. And I've had like some caster friends recently that have like, I guess I can more relate to casters in that sense of like, if I wasn't able to work in Overwatch anymore or Rocket League or whatever, like I'd be devastated. I wouldn't know what to do. And when people had to, like, I really like Amelia's tweet, hope I'm saying her name right, about how people were forced recently to move to California for this job and then were laid off. Like, if this was something that could have been foreseen, maybe you could have just moved out the people that were really essential. And if you even had an idea or a thought that maybe some of these departments were going to be laid off, don't have them relocate. But I agree with Emmy's tweet there that was especially cruel. And I don't even know what the severance package was. Because I know Riot actually had a really, really good severance package. What was it, like the 6-month salary and all this other shit? And we don't know what Blizzard people are getting, which is even more concerning. At least I don't know. I don't know if this was tweeted by some journalist, but yeah, incredibly sad because I guess you just have to move out of gaming. And when all of your skills have to do with gaming, like where do you go from here? Especially when you work with a certain engine and whatnot. So I really feel bad because I hope that I'm seeing a ton of posts of job postings coming up. I feel like the community is really coming together at the worst of times because this is a super unfortunate event, but it's been awesome to see everyone like retweet job postings, give each other vouchers on LinkedIn to reference letters and all that. So it's great to see the community support each other no matter what game we're all from.
Yeah, and I think developers, from whatever I've seen, they're never animositous towards each other. That whatever that word is, they're always like they don't compete in the way that I think people think they compete, or the companies as a whole may compete. But developers are always very supportive of each other. Like, I always see them on my social media, just kind of proud of each other's successes, as even if they work in rival companies. And it's just a scary time for game development. I think when you're watching people across your industry just get laid off despite succeeding ostensibly in creating great games. So, Cuppcaake, I think you wanted to mention, you just wanted to extend your emotional thank you. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then we got some comments from Bame coming.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Like, I'm devastated for them. I've never been in that position, luckily, but like they were saying, people have relocated out there just to lose their dream job, and I can't imagine like how isolating that feels and how like devastating that is. So I've definitely been like putting myself in their shoes, trying to imagine what it would be like, because it's the worst thing that could like happen, to have your dream job working in gaming and then like, sorry, bye, and then now what? And there's so many people. It's not just like a few people that are having to, like, it's just such a massive amount of people being displaced in the gaming industry. And I don't know, I'm very, very sorry that they're having to go through that. And I can't help but think that there's definitely a way that it could be avoided, and that also sucks. But I do see a lot of people on Twitter being supportive, and I hope that everyone finds their new path, and I hope that, like they say, when one door closes, another one opens, and I hope that they can stay optimistic, and I hope that they're all gonna find something bigger and better to move on towards. But yeah, all I can really do is just say how sorry I am, and I can't imagine what they're going through.
Yeah, and again, I think I want to just emphasize that I know a lot of people listening will be like, why does this matter? Why do we care about talking about this? And B, people lose their jobs all the time. So what? To the former, I mean, we're talking about games. We talk about Overwatch. This is going to be very much relevant to Overwatch. It's going to be very much impactful on the future of Overwatch.
We feel connected to them. We've met a lot of them in person at conventions, at the summits, and like we've met a lot of these people, and we see how passionate they are, and we see how much they put into it, and we see how much work they're doing, and we also see, even like a lot of them are saying on Twitter, like, we were working on something really great, we're really excited, and we're starting to like get this groove, and like that's great for us too as the players, and then for that to be taken away from them, like that also means it's halting work that affects us as players too. So I mean, they're the ones losing their jobs, so it's more about them, but it's just we're connected to them, so
Absolutely. Yeah, there's the human element, as you're mentioning, and there's also the tangible element, which is that, yeah, this is going to make development Overwatch worse for the immediate future. We don't know what Microsoft plans are, to how much they plan on reshifting priorities, and if they plan on hiring new people. But for the short term, it's definitely going to have an impact. And that's where I want to. Yeah. Go ahead,
sorry,
Lemon.
just to mention real quick, like the layoffs also are affecting like huge projects, whether it's like the patch, like we're worried about the patch, or PV, whatever. Even like Riot, like LEC has, I think, got announced yesterday as like a skeleton crew. They fired everyone but one observer. Like, I'm worried that the layoffs, like, yeah, they're like saving costs or whatever, but it's costing like serious quality of either broadcast or like the products that we're going to be seeing. And I know the fans just only care about the game, and maybe some of them are like too young to really realize the impact of these. But does this mean we're like stable now? Is this just an effect of post-COVID? Are we gonna like not see layoffs for a while, or is this just the beginning? And it's like I feel like everyone's in doom mode right now because it's the new year and it's supposed to be like a feeling like a growth year, and then this happens, especially with like OWCS announced. Everyone's like, "Woo! Like Overwatch is back, baby!" And now it's not back. So
It's like not consistent and it's scary,
yeah.
and it definitely affects the morale in general. So yeah.
Yeah, and someone who might have insight on that one is Bame. Actually, Bame, you've kind of worked for a large company and you've seen a lot of, so I think another thing is that people think that as content creators we've never either had real jobs or we don't have real jobs. Bame, you were definitely not. So do you want to give a bit of background into your career and like what you've seen from your POV?
Yeah, totally. So this one hits home in a weird way. Like I'm on the good end of it, but so I've worked for the same company that is pretty much growing and the same size right now as Blizzard Activision pre Microsoft. Okay. I've worked for the same company for 22 years. I'm a food scientist. I do research and development in the food industry, and my job is actually I say sustainability usually, but a lot of it is cost savings, right? So company is this size, they have to make money for their shareholders. So one of the easy ways to do that is to cut costs, because that can kind of be in their control. And it's just working backwards game, to be honest. So they laid off 1,900 people. It's a ton of people. I've gone through 4 massive layoffs before, and I've made it through all of them, thankfully. I don't know how or why. And I mean, they're like Blizzard people are probably looking at, what's the average salary of someone if it's 100K, 190 or 1,900 people, that's $190 million they're going to save in 2024. And that's if Blizzard was making $8 billion in revenue, that's 2.5%. That's, benchmark. That's probably a good cost savings for the year. So they did that. They probably don't have to cut any more savings after that. That's a huge amount of money. So hopefully they can focus on just building everything back up and, letting the Microsoft stuff sort out in Blizzard and just rebuilding the culture. Dude, and I hate saying this, and I'm almost numb to it, to be honest, because I've seen it so much. It's just business, and that's what happens, and it sucks. But that's kind of probably the business standpoint, and not to say it's justified. My main thing is cost savings for my company. I've never had to lay anyone off. Instead, I'll do a project like, let's say I can save a penny per pound on 1 million pounds of some food product. That's $100,000. Maybe that's someone's salary. So for that year, maybe someone didn't get laid off because I'm getting it somewhere else. So I think if you have a job, I think try to be, I don't know, don't spend money wastefully, I think, whether it's travel or anything else, because they got to work backwards to get their money. So, geez, I hope I'm not bringing down the call too much, but that's my perspective. It hits home to me. I'm kind of numb to it, to be honest. It sucks.
No, I think it's very relevant to bring that up. And again, there's the rational reality and there's the emotional reality, right? The emotional reality, again, is the cost that has the human cost, the people laid off, the lives affected. And then as you talked about, this is like the big picture corporate assessment will be, well, we need to make savings. And it's it's pretty standard corporate procedure. I think when you acquire a new company, you want to show that like we're handling it efficiently. We're gonna cut out the fat, as it were, which again is such a horrendous way to refer to it because the fat is the lives of people. But that's how it's viewed in those upper echelons. And again, a very easy trick, if you're the guy who's like put in charge of, hey, I'm putting you in charge of the Activision merger, make sure it makes more money. Pretty straightforward thing that guy can do is lay people off in the short term, because then on the books immediately it says, hey, look, we spent way less money this year, so I did a great job. The long-term effects are irrelevant to that person because their job is temporary as well. Potentially they move on in a year or two to a different company or a different department, or they just go somewhere completely different industry. But they can say on their CV, hey, well, I saved, 100 million, as you put it there, Bame, right? It's like, I saved this company 100 million. And that looks great because nobody's going to investigate and be like, well, what happened to the company 3 years after you left? Like, what happened to all those good people you fired? And he'll just say, well, that wasn't my responsibility. I did what I was asked to. So the rest wasn't my... So this is how these things work. I understand that. But I did want to just bring it up and kind of extend again our sympathy, and I hope you guys as players as well can show some humanity in that element and just sort of whatever your feelings may be. You may have resented how Overwatch was developed, how it was handled, But that doesn't change that when someone like when something bad happens, you can still be a human being and be like, damn man, that sucks. This is not the time for me to sort of celebrate it or attack whoever was laid off as being, whatever, XYZ, lazy, bad. I didn't like what the developers were doing, right? This is not the time. Just keep it, human for like a day. Any other thoughts from you guys on this issue before we go back to the medal rank aspect of this debate? Anything else you want to bring up? Okay, great, awesome. Thank you for that. Now let's head back to talking about Overwatch, the game itself. So again, you guys have kind of been through the trenches. You've experienced what the majority of the player base will have largely experienced. So I think that it might be a good place to start with the feelings. Like, what is the feeling of playing in the medal ranks, right? Like, what is the experience of playing in the medal ranks? And specifically, what is it that you feel maybe often gets neglected when predominantly the content creation talk around Overwatch is based from a GM top 500 perspective? So I'll take it to Lemon. Maybe you want to go first about
Sure.
Just what do you think is kind of often, as someone who's seen the absolute highest levels, well, casting for Watch League, what is it you think that often is not communicated or is left behind in the gap between what happens in most players' games and what top 500 and pro players talk about?
I feel like hitting on what Cuppcaake said earlier of just like there's certain ranks that people just are there to have fun and enjoy where they're at. And then there are some ranks that feel like it's people who are hard stuck and are just like committing their lives to ranking up. And if they don't rank up in that game, then it's freaking over. So I've had a mix of anything from that, from Diamond to Masters. For me, biggest issues come with like hero flexibility. I feel like in the low and the understanding of that, first in like lower mid ranks, whatever, people just have the hero that they like to play and they don't realize that that is not a helpful hero to the meta. They're not playing the meta stuff. They don't want to swap and they don't have time on the other heroes. And that's what I guess makes you GM in top 500 is, can you play all the meta heroes at a super high level, and how flexible are you? So let's say people feel like they can swap to that different hero. They usually don't understand the meta or don't understand the counter swaps. Like if they get dove on, they're just gonna automatically go Moira because fuck you guys, I'm going Moira because no one's helping me. And then you'll have like stupid swaps like that like don't. And not saying that going Moira is always a stupid swap. I'm just saying like that's like just one of the things. That's just like one of the things, because trust me, I do that too. I go Moira when I'm not living, because if we're gonna lose. Yeah, if we're gonna lose, I'm gonna live. Okay, I'm gonna live and play the game, even if this doesn't contribute to turning this game around. I'm gonna go Moira so I can at least be alive to watch the loss. I do that too. But in the lower ranks, people just also don't understand counter swaps. Like you'll play like a tank or you'll play a support, and people will like get mad at you and be like, "Why are you playing this into this?" And it's like, clearly the correct thing to do. And like I feel like I'm in like a unique scenario where like I understand the counter swaps, I understand the matchups, so I'll swap to the counter, or I'll play a certain way because of what's on the other side, and then I'll have people in plat or diamond or even low masters try to tell me how to play the game but they're very diehard on their opinions that they know the game no matter what. Even when I tell them like I'm not even trying to flex, I'll be like, guys, I know what to do, and this is why I'm doing the way I'm doing. And I also just saying I cast owl, so like if I didn't know the game, like I wouldn't have this job. I'm just like throwing that out there as an extra argument. But this is why I'm right, and they'll be like, no. And then you like try to argue with people who like don't know the game, and the understanding of the game is very low. Sometimes like you'll be in diamond just off of pure mechanics and no brain at all. So then you have to like try to teach people like the meta, understanding the game, how to position, how to play counters, how to play matchups. And people just are very stern on their opinions, and then they're also very bitter because they're at that rank, and they're never willing to accept why they're at that rank, and it's never self-reflection. It's always someone else's fault, which we've all blamed somebody else at some point, and sometimes it is someone else's fault, but like often not, those people don't self-reflect. So understanding of the game, not having hero flexibility, And that's the things I deal with the most anyway. And also, I never get to play fun tanks because I have to play meta. So that's maybe also why I'm at the rank that I'm at.
Never get to have fun. That's a shame.
Never get to have fun.
I would love to see, you know, because the classic streamer clip would be like, they'll on an alt account and be like, "Shut up, bro! I smurf your peak." I'd love to see a Lemonkiwi clip, which is just like, "I cast your peak, bro! Like I fucking cast Overwatch League.
I cast your peak.
Shut the fuck up."
I cast your heroes, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So
I don't even always say that because I feel like it's not even an argument. I could be the president of the United States, and if I tell somebody that Moira is useless, they'll be like, "Absolutely." And then I'll try to explain how, like, well, they have a Kiriko, they have this utility, they can do this against your hero. Be like, "Nah, Moira lives." And then I'll be like, "Okay, well, I fucking give up, bro."
It's true. It's true. Let's touch on those things that you brought up before we bring up any other thing. So, Bame, I think this is something you kind of were nodding along of, like the hero inflexibility, firstly, and then we can talk afterwards potentially about, you know, the mentality that often pervades in the meta rank. So, yeah, talk to me about hero inflexibility.
I mean, I would like to say it's more ball supremacy, to be honest, bro. Come on. So, I mean, being mostly a one-trick ball, now I'm working on that. But being mostly a one-trick ball, dude, that's a tough life in gold. And it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because nobody plays ball because ball's bad. And then no one knows how to play with ball because no one's playing ball. And then on the other hand, if they ever play against the ball, they just know, oh, I'll go Sombra and hold my hand up on the payload, and the guy can't do nothing, right? So it sucks, man. Like, people get yelled at all the time. I mean, it's great TikTok content, right? Like, I'm fine with it, but like, it's tough, man. I try not to get frustrated. Like, I'm pretty good at PMA, and like, I'm the one, like, I never tell anyone to swap. Like, you do your thing. Like, it's gold, it's platinum. Like, meta doesn't matter till like grandmasters, from what I'm told, right? Like, you should be able to play anything decent down here, I think. If they have Sombra made, Junkrat traps, and they've got Anna sleeping me all the time, like, I just deal with it. And maybe I'll swap if I think I'm not doing anything, but usually I think I'm actually doing something, and just my team is just shooting Reinhardt shield nonstop at the choke, right? Like, as I'm trying to chase down both supports that are pocketing each other, I can't kill any one of them. That gets frustrating, man. I don't know. I went on a long rant there.
No, yeah. No, I appreciate that. Actually, it's bringing up another kind of thing that I know people experience in the meta ranks is this, like, as I kind of Lemon alluded to this as well, is misdiagnosing the problem, I think is probably the best way to put it, is where something's happening in a game and maybe someone like Lemonkiwi who casts your peak, or someone who does know how the game works, would kind of watch that and be like, yeah, we're losing because X, right? But then from whatever I've seen and I've experienced on alt accounts as well, people's understanding is usually very basic. It never strays beyond who's the least meta pick right now. I'm just going to flame that guy, especially the tank. Usually the tank is just like, if we're playing, you know, ball, or let's say like you're playing Diva and they pick Zarya, you'll just be like, tank swap, otherwise we're going to lose. Like, you just find the like most out of the shape that doesn't fit the box the most and just blame that guy, even if that's actually not what's going on. Even if you're in your case, you're doing a great job in making space.
The advice is horrible. I'll be at Gibraltar, they'll say go Reinhardt instead of ball. I'm like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, the advice they're giving is awful, right? Like, I think you said, it's painful sometimes.
Or people don't understand your hero and then tell you how to play it, especially like on the tank department, because it's very easy to bully the tank because there's only one of them and they can't defend themselves. Because it's like, you know, the tank is always going to be the first one punished when it's an entire team problem. Sometimes it could be the support's fault, tank is the first to die. It could be DPS's fault, tank first to die. It could be anyone's fault, tank first to die. And if you always blame the first one who dies, which is most likely going to be your tank unless there's some sniper stuff. And for example, like Diva, I feel like is a really complicated tank. I used to main Diva a lot. Many different ways of playing her, right? You could play the peel Diva, the dive Diva, the whatever, pressure DPS Diva. There's all types of ways and situations to play Diva. And even who even knows the best and correct way to play Diva, right? Because there's just so many things to do. And then people will always tell you as a tank, go dive the team, go forward, press W. It's like people's ideas. And I even play League of Legends. It's like same way. I play tank in League of Legends. People think that tanks always just have to W, and they don't like understand anything but W at this rank. and then you have to like sit there and argue, and then they get frustrated with you, and then DPS start frontlining, or supports will start like going for stupid ass fucking plays like throwing antis and like frontlining. Ana throws antis, dies, and then they'll blame you for not Wing, and then they'll frontline and die and then blame you, and it's just like insane how people don't understand things, and then when you explain it to them, they'll just go in int and then blame you for not making the space that they tried to do on support or DPS. It's like crazy.
I've definitely experienced that. I mean, speaking of Diva, I've been one-tricking Diva for a week. You know, I got coaching from...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I doing 7 days on Diva. I got coaching from Hawk. I got coaching from Emong. And despite all of that, like, just the comms that you hear, people will just be like, our Diva never dives their backline. It's like, bro, they've got like Brig Bap. I don't know what the fuck you want me to do. I'm getting back, but people will like, they don't, you're absolutely right. Like, they just don't understand how your hero works, but they think they do. They think people think they're an expert in every hero, even if they have no idea. And I think I'll take it to Cuppcaake on that note. If you kind of have anything you want to relate to off of the various little things we brought up there,
oh yeah,
go ahead.
I have a list. No, I think this is why it's really important to be flexible, especially as a support. So I play support, and I have built a wide range of heroes that I can play. Like, I play a lot of Ana. She was my main for years, so I'm very comfortable on Ana. I've been playing tons of Life Weaver. I'm comfortable on Mercy. I'm comfortable on Bap. I'm comfortable on Mora. I'm comfortable on Kiriko. You know, so I think this is why it is really important to have a variety of heroes, because like if you do have if you have a tank that is going to go ball and they're going to stay ball, the worst thing you can do is argue with them about it and like try to play something that's not going to work with ball. You might as well try to work with what you're given, right? So if we have someone that's like, I'm playing ball, and I'm like, okay, I'll go Mercy. I will try to keep up with you. I'll go in with you. I'll help you. I'll do what I can do, you know, whatever. But I think that not enough people kind of like, everyone wants to play what they want to play, and too many people are just not willing to try to come together and like make a balance of what you got, you know, what your team comp is going to be. Not everyone is going to be willing to switch. Not everyone is going to be like amazing at their hero either. So you have to be willing to adjust. But that is a problem, is the people that do not want to adjust for anything, because they know what they're doing and they know how the game works and they know what's best and when in reality they don't know what the tank is trying to do, especially when no one's even talking. Like, people are like in text chat, like, and I'm like, how do you even know? Like, no one's even saying anything. Everyone's just like making assumptions, and it's just like bringing the team morale like way down. So I'm actually quite happy with like not getting frustrated too often when I don't have like maybe the most ideal team put together, but I am definitely going to try my best to work with what we have and what people are playing. Like, obviously I will always make suggestions if I'm like, hey, like, is there any way that we can do this instead of this to counter that? And either they're going to listen and they're going to be willing to do it and they're going to do it, or they're not. Like, what? But like, you can't do anything about it. It's not worth like getting upset or start flaming or being toxic. Like, okay, then you need to do what you can, and if you're willing to change something, then do that. You know, try to work with what you got. But a lot of people do one trick in plat, and that does make it very, very, very difficult, especially when you have one person that's like going Genji and they are not going to swap up anything. They don't even have 1,000 damage like 2 rounds in, but they're like, I'm staying Genji, you know. So that happens a lot. So.
I try to do like hostage negotiations where like I'm the hostage and I'm trying to like get myself out of like an automatic loss game, like lost in champ select game, where like if I'm Ana, because I just like one trick Ana on support, I'll be like, listen, like get off ball and go like Winston or like whatever, like go on, get off ball and like go this, and I'll give you like every fucking nano. Like you start like negotiating, compromising. I'll give you every nano. I will pocket this shit out of you if you go Ryan on King's Row. Like it's over for them if you swap to this, and then most of the time they're actually like down as fuck and they'll swap to that. So you could try to like do that if you're a support, but I know Bame's like, no, I one trick, so
Bro, ball is awesome on King's Row, man. I spank people on that thing, dude. I'd swap it off.
I
Yeah.
would be in pain in Champ Select, but I'll pocket you.
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
well, this illustrates a good difference, I think, that manifests in the metal ranks. I mean, I think one thing I will just say is that a lot of things you guys described, I think, is a lot more applicable to more ranks in Overwatch 2 than it was in Overwatch 1 from my experience. Like, I remember, thinking about all these things and experiencing all these things in Overwatch 1, and it felt like back then there was a more distinct divide between, like, once you did get to GM, there was a slightly better, like, switch between what happened. Even Masters, there was, like, a little bit of a switch between what happened in Masters and what happened in, like, Diamond and below. Just a lot of your experiences here, like, they don't stop in GM5. Like, they don't stop in GM4. Like, maybe GM3 they start stopping. So, like, I think I will put that out that I think now the way the Overwatch 2 has manifested, a lot of these things have blended a bit more. But I think it is more prominent in the ranks we're talking about. It is more prominent in the plats and the golds. And this does represent a good difference, which is that potentially there's people like, Kiwi and Cuppcaake who are like want flexibility. They want people to try their best and try and pick what works. And there's people like yourself, Bame, who are kind of like, well, I just like this hero, man, and I want to play this hero. And I know you think it's suboptimal, but I think I got it. So, like, let me do my thing. So do you want to maybe speak for your POV? And then, we've kind of heard a little bit from Lemon and Cuppcaake. Do you want to speak to your POV of, like, how you approach your basically ball one-tricking?
Yeah, so I think Ball's a pretty versatile hero, right? So, like, if they're going counters, I feel like I just have to play differently, and I can still play with Ball. Like, I'd say, like, 95% of the time, I feel like I'm doing good things on Ball. And, like, if I just play different, and I've been trying to, like, so one thing that sucks about me is I don't really pay attention to my teammates so much. I've got to roll around, do my own things. So I'm trying to, like, think, hey, what are my teammates doing? Like, they must be doing something back there, and maybe they're not just shooting a Reinhardt shield. So maybe I should go back and see what's messing around with them. I mean, I'm just trying to kill, like, Anna Kriko back there, dude. I should be able to get them, but they're just pocketing each other, and I'm rolling around in the background. I got 4 people looking at me. Why can't my team push up, bro? Right? Like, but I'm trying to think about my teammates more. But
I have a question for you, Bame. What's your favorite support that pockets you when you're playing Ball? Like, who do you like to have like healing you?
Yeah, good question. And I like to run health packs a lot too. So let me preface by, like, I don't really say I need healing. Like, I'll go get my healing. But I kind of like playing with Zen a little bit. That orb is okay, and then I'll get a little extra damage out of it. Maybe I'll be able to finish some kills. Kriko's kind of fun. Like, if a Kriko can, like, off angle heal me a bit, that makes it fun. Like, as Ball, if I can kind of get in their backline and off angle them, I think that works the best. Man, my favorite hobby is, like, making Reinhardt spin, dude, right? Like, you get behind Reinhardt and the dude just spins his shield around, dude, like a top. That shit is great, man. I love doing that. So Anna's fine. Mercy stalling on point is really fun. Like, if you got a Mercy that's, like, bobbing up and down on top of the cart when I'm just spinning around like that, like, we're both unkillable. At least in gold, right? But that Mercy actually works really good on car maps.
Yeah.
If you got a Moira that's diving, that can be fun. I've actually been grouping up with some Moiras here and there, and, like, a Tracer, and, like, that can be fun to party with. But that takes kind of a special coordination you don't often get in gold, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But if you kind of commit to it, it can be really fun.
Right, and this kind of alludes as well to another thing that was kind of mentioned in your guys' grievances is the mentality. So let's kind of expand on that before we'll eventually talk about stuff with, like, balance and things like that. But the mentality is a thing that you guys have said in a few different ways. One is that people don't understand the game, but they don't want to understand the game. Maybe they don't want to, maybe listen to someone about at least their own hero, or if nothing else. But also the giving up, I think, is another thing I see a lot. Is like, you lose one fight and people are like, GG, can't be done. And just the quickness with which people just tilt and give up. So yeah, Cuppcaake, why don't you describe to us if there's any sort of, do you think that mentality plays a part in why people maybe don't climb higher?
Yes. Yes, because I see it all the time. I see it so frequently where you have, like, like, the first hold falls apart and everyone's like, GG, like, everyone's frustrated, and it's so weird to me because the amount of games where we might get absolutely steamrolled on like the entire defense side, just steamrolled. Like we didn't defend for even a second. But guess what? When we go to attack, it's the same thing. It's like both teams just really suck at defense, and you end up winning the game. So that like tells you right there that it does not matter. You can literally just get plowed over, and like that means literally nothing, because there's a really good chance that they're not just that much better. It's just it's more attack, more attack friendly like map or whatever, and you also do really well at attack. And so if you automatically give up after that one round, how are you going to know what the outcome of the next round is going to be if you're just like frustrated and you're like, oh, it's not even worth it because like we did really bad? Like it's so wild to me. And I mean, same thing, like even if you lose the first point on whatever, like it means nothing. But some people just focus so heavily on that and acts like that's going to determine the rest of the game. And I cannot understand that. So I do feel like there's a lot of times where I have to try to keep morale up and be like, okay, that just was not our map, or like that was not it, like we can do better, like let's do this, let's do that. Like you have to figure out a way to work with it. But people get so frustrated and give up so easily, and it blows my mind every time because it's so stupid.
Yeah, I definitely. I don't think it ever helps, and it only seems to massage people's egos. But I'm curious, Lemon, because now obviously you deal with Overwatch League and you contenders players who are like, the top 0.1%. But I'm curious if you kind of notice differences in the way that those guys approach the game and play the game versus what normal players do. Like, is there a stark mental difference in how they approach it, or are they actually quite similar?
I think like there's like sometimes similarities where like maybe closer to contenders, where like contenders there's quite a few players that have like incredible mechanics but zero brain. Like why they're positioned a certain way, or understanding their matchup, or just how they're using their ult. Like even contenders players have those kinds of problems, and I think Overwatch has so much weight on the understanding of the game and not just shooting straight. And there's like a variety of reasons why people like maybe in plat or diamond. Like I placed plat when I first started the game. I think I dropped down to gold once when I did my placements with a silver and found out what MMR was. So it was kind of, I was like in ELO Hell in gold, not like able to get out, because it was one of those like, you have so many different people. You either have like Smurfs who are just like stomping the entire lobby, people doing like Unranked To GM, I don't fucking know. Or there's people who just like straight up just don't know what they're doing. They get placed in gold, never get out. And it's tough. It's like you need, and especially as like a solo queue, where usually I'll solo queue, sometimes play with friends. If you're solo queuing, you have to either communicate and handhold the shit out of your team, where usually I'll go to that. Just because like if I like usually if I'm too tilted to play tank, I'll play support and just handhold my tank and like explain to like kind of direct the fights, and then like that's how I'm able to have like a carry impact, because I think communication is actually really important Overwatch, regardless of what the players who plays top 500 muting their mic say. Or you can have like a mechanically carry performance, whether it's obviously it doesn't have to always be DPS, it could be like hitting a really sick anti-heal and stuff like that. So I think it has to be one of those two things. And like I see how people play in contenders or Overwatch League, and I just know I'm not going to get that. But it is frustrating to try and like explain to people how the game works, and having like an understanding of the game at the high level, but not being able to translate that to my rank, because I just don't put the hours in. And I'm not saying that I could hit that rank. I'm just saying that's one of the factors that contributes to me being in that rank. And it is frustrating, and I don't know how to explain. And people don't take advice very well, because usually they'll see it as an attack on their personnel. If I'm like, hey,
really nicely, like you have to be very sensitive, otherwise.
You gotta get your like a Carl Salzman voice on of like, hey, I really think we should focus this Hanzo on the off angle just because he's shooting us. And then
You're doing
usually
really
if I explain it, yeah, if you like handhold the shit out of your tank and you're like, okay, like I'll dive with you, Winston. We'll go after this Hanzo because we can't let him do that because we're dying. And it's like I have to have like a TED talk on like why we need to do something. And if it's just a straight up swap, like, hey, Ball or Moira or whatever, I can't think of other scenarios, but just like let's say some heroes that are just not helpful in that current situation with our composition. Let's say it's just very anti-synergistic. Hey, like, can you swap to something else because there's no other way of getting around it of like you're not contributing. There's just no way to frame that, and then people will not swap no matter what. And also they'll just not be in voice most of the time. If they're on a hero they probably shouldn't be on. 90% of the time they just won't even communicate. But at least I've been able to let go of that frustration a lot easier. I'm always toxic, but I've let go of that frustration because I feel like my rank doesn't matter anymore. Like when I was casting contenders, like I was trying to be a high rank so that I'd be respected enough to cast Overwatch League. But now that I made it to Overwatch League, I feel like I'm not as pressured to like get to GM. I feel like everyone's trying to get to GM to like prove something. Yeah. While as like, and then that like hurts people's egos when they can't get there. So then they start like blaming other people instead of themselves. So that's what I've had to deal with. But I started caring less. I actually just play quick play now, and I feel like my viewership doesn't hurt because I am a lower rank streamer. Because I think streamers can be successful without being super high rank. That's just my take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, lots to reflect on there. I mean, poor Bame catching strays every now and then, just with the ball swaps constantly.
Every time we mention damn ball, I'm sorry, name.
Sorry, Bame.
It's happening less on this podcast than it does in game, man. Like I'm good, dude. I'm getting less blame on this podcast. So okay, I get to ask the question, and I have fun when I play Overwatch. I play competitive Overwatch. I actually have fun, and I get asked a lot, Bame, how do you have so much fun on Overwatch? Number one is don't expect anything from your freaking teammates, dude. Like, just be happy they move out of the zone in, dude, right? But like, I seriously don't expect anything from them, and that's why I think I play happy Overwatch. I think when you expect your tank to actually push, you expect your supports to actually heal, you expect your DPS to get picks, and they don't, you're letting yourself down. My favorite life equation is satisfaction equals performance minus expectations. Like that is so true both for yourself and for managing other people, by the way. But I don't know, man. I just don't expect my teammates to do anything, and that's how I have fun most of the time.
I think that's actually the best way to climb, personally. I think just literally expecting them to do nothing and being surprised when they get anything done is like always the better way to approach it.
But what about your winner mentality? You gotta go in like this is grand finals. Like,
I'm still playing to the best. I'm still playing to the best of my ability. But I don't.
I'm still popping off always. Yeah.
I fully expect them to throw.
I still try that. Like I still try. That's like I still try to like make call outs and like help our team. But like it is really hard when people aren't in voice chat. Which, speaking of, because like Lemonkiwi said, like higher ranked people are like voice chat. Like you don't need it. You know, you can just mute and GG whatever. But like we in Plat, we are playing a very different game than those that are in top 500. Like we are not playing the same game. It is not the same because we don't have, not everyone is a highly skilled player. Like in top 500, they're there because they're all really high skilled. We're in Plat because we're not as highly skilled, which is totally fine, by the way. But not everyone's going to have top 500, mechanics. So because we aren't as high skilled in the metal ranks, we have to be heavily coordinated and we have to have communication to make it work, to make up for the lack of like mechanical skill that a lot of us don't have. You know what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah. Coordination, I feel like, can what separate two teams, even if one is way worse than the other. If you coordinate, you can win off of that alone, I think.
Yeah.
And I can even see it sometimes. Like, you can tell that they're making call-outs. Like, when I go in the backline and I see 4 people look at me, or if I'm hiding, and then if someone sees me, they all jump on me. Like, you can see it sometimes, and your team is dead silent. It's like, all right, yeah, good luck.
Yeah, But like those games are so fun when you do have everyone that's willing to like communicate and make call outs and like work together as a team. It's kind of rare, but those games for me are always so much fun because we're like, and I'm solo queuing, so these are random people that I don't know, and you'll end up like having this really high morale and everyone's having a good time and everyone's like really trying to help each other out, like everyone's on the same, you know, like path, and like it's, I don't know, it's just those are the games that I love the most. Like I look forward to those games where everyone's like, yeah, let's really work together, because yeah, not everyone in plat is gonna like hit all their shots. You know what I mean? But if you work
Yeah.
together and you're helping each other, like that's okay. You can get past that and you can, you know, help each other out. But if everyone's just like doing their
Yeah.
own thing, muted, it's a mess.
Yeah, I've got kind of two different perspectives on voice chat. So when I play ball, so first off, I don't tend to talk. Like I don't want to necessarily, right? Because I'm an introvert. I like to chill. I like to talk to my Twitch chat way more than my teammates. So
Same,
when I
yeah.
play tank though, like I force myself to say, okay, whenever I have mines, I'm going to say mines on point or whatever. I'll say wherever I put mines. So at least like that gets me started. So every time I play ball, and if I at least get my ult, I'm going to say mines. That's like drilled in me. And I try to call out my slams and all that. Sometimes I don't. But like, and I stream every single freaking day. But sometimes I just ain't feeling it. And ball, like when you're tanking, like you gotta. I feel like there's a lot more responsibility on you than just some DPS that's wherever, dude, doing whatever. But so when I'm not playing tank though, I'm playing probably Zen or Torb, and I usually don't talk at all. I feel like I don't have to talk much to still get good value though. And I'm also in silver too, so I'm usually just kind of vibing. Like when I'm having like a shit day, I'm like, dude, I ain't balling. I'm just gonna play Zen and Torb, and maybe I'll talk if it's cool, but I probably won't talk unless there's a reason.
Yeah, I usually only talk on support.
Oh, another
Interesting.
thing that I forgot to think of is that when a new hero is released, I feel like the GM community understands the state of the hero. Like, for example, I feel like I've quit Overwatch like 2 times now because of new hero releases and the rank that I'm at. Like when Lifeweaver came out, you know how he's super dog water and like everyone would play Lifeweaver and then you would just lose if anyone had Lifeweaver because he was just so bad. Well, like I feel like the lower elo community, everyone wants to get a chance to play the new hero, and then people will lose and be like, oh well, I just got to get better at the hero, and then they'll just like keep playing it. They want to be that person who can just climb with the new hero, while as the GM community like maybe has that, I don't know, but they also there's conversations online about whether the hero was good, and then everyone knows, okay, don't pick that hero, and they have a better understanding of the game to go, I know what counters Lifeweaver, I'm gonna go these heroes and we're just gonna permanently win. And then like Maga, same thing. Like he was fun on release, and then I quit when it was just a Maga fest. And at low elos, I feel like they always want to abuse and just like play the new heroes, no matter if it's an automatic loss or not. And I guess again, hero flexibility, but also low elo people just want to play what they want to play. They don't sometimes want to play to win. And there are people who want to play to win. There are people who don't care or just want to have fun. And I think that's kind of like the biggest problem at lower ranks is that mix.
Yeah, totally understandable. Again, I think everything that has been described is sometimes true, and even in GM, but more true the lower you go. I think that's how I would categorize it. Like sometimes you will still get people hard locking, the useless hero or like a hero that doesn't work, or they completely fundamentally misunderstand. Like the other day, I'm in a game with Iliari Mercy backline, and they were like, go Winston. I'm like, how the fuck you expect me to play Winston? And like, neither of you guys can fucking heal me. Like, there's no fucking way. But people don't, they don't understand. So it's definitely more true in plat, and I definitely think more people would do what you've described, Lemon, which is just like, oh, I think, even if you thought, Lifeweaver was bad, like, I think Lifeweaver's fun, so I'm going to play him. And go ahead, like, Cuppcaake.
I was just going to say, do y'all think that it would help if we had a different mode for this? Because we have quick play, which is unranked, but it's quick play, and then we have competitive. And like, I don't like playing quick play personally. It's just not really that fun for me, especially like you have nothing to gain or lose. And I mean, if I'm just like really not mentally there, like I will play quick play usually to like practice different heroes or whatever, which, my god, anytime, like I had this fun little wheel spin thing for my stream, and like if it landed on, like, chat picks my hero, and they will obviously pick something absolutely ridiculous that I have like maybe 5 minutes on. Like I hate Doomfist, and they'll be like, "Oh, play Doomfist," and it's just like silly and fun. I will go to Quick Play to do that challenge for them, and it never fails. I have never once done a Quick Play game playing a random hero like for fun without getting completely flamed. Like, I mean, bad, not just like you're bad, like it is bad, it is awful. And like my whole team's just like yelling at me, and I'm like, this is Quick Play, right? Like, isn't this how people are supposed to like learn new heroes anyway? So my point is like, why don't we have Quick Play as it is for people to just like practice new heroes, just quick games that are easy, chill, like whatever, and then have like an actual unranked that's competitive play style, but like, and like the points and everything, but just not have SR, you know, like competitive without the SR. Like that should be a mode for the people that want to play competitively but like don't really care about their rank or anything like that, and it's like an in-between of, okay, Quick Play, you can use that to learn new heroes. Unranked, you can use that to get maybe better at the competitive side of it, and then move on to actual ranked where you are, you know, winning or losing points. Because it can get really frustrating, like playing Quick Play sometimes, and it can also be really frustrating playing competitive sometimes because of people's like mindsets towards it. I really feel like we need to have something in the middle, and I think maybe it could help that whole situation.
Bame, Lemon, any thoughts on, just not necessarily, it doesn't specifically have to be to that, but any thoughts related to what Cuppcaake is talking about? My only input personally is that I think the reason they don't do that is just queue times. It just splits the player base. Because already, you know, you want the whole thing of quick play is you want the games to be quick, which means a lot of people have to be queuing, and then comp already has bad enough queue time, so another queue probably just makes that worse. But I do agree with your principle. I think the biggest problem that what you're talking about is that there's not really a clear delineation between what is meant for what. Like again, when I had Jared on this podcast, and it was kind of surprising to me, but he said, you know, quick play is serious to us. Like we view quick play internally in the dev team as like you properly play quick play. You're not supposed to leave quick play, because this was like a whole thing. You know, a lot of large section of the community felt like, oh, if I hop into a quick play game, why can't I leave 5 minutes in because I don't like it anymore? And Jared and the team's POV is, no, you're still playing the game seriously. It's just not for rank. It's just not for points. But it's still a serious mode. But then
so
that
where do you go to like learn and get comfortable on something, or like, oh, I just want to like try this out for the first time ever and not get just completely annihilated and feel really badly for not like already knowing how to play a hero the first time you play it.
And that's the question that it leads to, right? It's like, well, okay, if you're saying quick play series, where do I want to, like you said, learn Doomfist? Or I guess they would say
actually learn Doomfist. But
right. You should. He's fun. He's fun. I think more people should play. I think more people should play Doomfist. But yeah, maybe their POV is that like, oh, go arcade or something, or you know, go in custom games or something. But yeah, it doesn't really quite feel like we've clarified to the community what is meant for what, and that's why I think we do have a lot of players play comp in like plat and gold, but then they're not really trying to win. They're not really trying, you know, the things that they could do to make it better. But you know, what can you do at the end of the day? Any more thoughts on this issue before we move on to the next topic?
I also wish there were role swaps, like something that would let me role swap with someone. Like for example, if like a tank or a support is having a hard time, or like if I'm on a different role, to swap with them. That would be really nice as like a side thing, so that like maybe they would help with toxicity. If it's like, oh well, if I'm so bad, you do it better, and I'm like, bet, like send request or whatever. Like
I'm in, man. Yeah, let me play the worthless DPS character.
Yeah, I'll double your numbers. Bet.
Reinhardt. Yeah. I'm in for that. That's a great idea, Levin.
Well, I mean, obviously, again, I guess for this podcast, as the host, I will just be the down putter of ideas. But obviously, the balance would be questionable, right? Because if you're GM on tank and plat on support, how do you allow that person to swap without ruining the integrity of the lobby? Like the only way that would ever be possible is if their SR on multiple roles is roughly the same. Otherwise, you know, what happens when it's very different?
Fair enough. You could scam that probably. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Actually, one quick thing before we'll talk about balance in a second, but one quick thing before we move on is I think someone mentioned Unranked to GMs, and I'm curious as to you guys' POVs, because often we hear when we talk about Unranked to GMs, we hear from people who do them or are in the position to be able to do them, but you guys are probably the people who would be more affected by Unranked to GMs if you believe you are. So do you believe that they're like a particular factor in your games, and do you have any thoughts on the general idea of Unranked to GMs?
So I see way less Smurfs nowadays. Like the last year, it's not bad for Smurfs. Like they fixed that, in my opinion. So I don't feel like I'm affected by unranked GMs. Sorry, are you talking like the person actually doing it or the people that watch them?
The people doing it. The people doing it.
Nah, I don't think I see them anymore, man. Not in plat, and never in silver.
I don't
No,
really
I don't see them.
mind, to be honest. Like, it's not, like I said, maybe if I was like really trying to like climb and I was seeing a lot of the, I just don't, if I do, I don't even really notice, to be honest. But if someone's doing unranked to GM, I mean, if I could do that, I probably would too. I couldn't do it. So I don't personally mind. I don't really feel like it really affects me too much. And I don't know. Okay, so I will say there are times that I'll get someone on my team that's just very like, I'm better at this game than you guys because I'm smurfing and this isn't my rank.
Smurf your peak.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, I forgot this is how y'all do this in this rank. Just making comments like that, and it's like, this is our rank. Like, you have to adjust to our rank, like, unless you can just like hard carry, good for you. But if you're not hard carrying and you're getting frustrated that you're not hard carrying, like, then you need to work a little bit more with your plat team. You know what I'm saying? But if I go against someone that's doing like GM, unranked to GM, I don't really care, to be honest. If anything, if it's like noticeable that they're smurfing, if anything, it just motivates me more to try to play even better, or even try even harder to get my team to coordinate a little bit more. Because if someone's GM smurfing in a plat game and everyone on that other team is just like no voice chat, everyone's just kind of doing their own thing, then yeah, you're gonna get completely stomped on. But if you have a plat team that is like, you know what, okay, let's really work together, let's really try really hard to see if like we can beat this smurf, like that, then it comes like you come together with your team, it makes it a fun game, and then if you win, it's like, hell yeah, like we won. You know what I mean? Like, so you can make it fun and turn it into a challenge, like turn it into something other than just crying about it and being like, GG, it's over, they have a smurf. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, try to have fun, try to do something about it. Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't like mind it as much. One, I think it's cute when like the little streamers do their unranked to GM and they get hard stuck plat. I find those unranked to GMs really hilarious. And I like that content because sometimes I can watch what they're doing, and the pub stomping is a little like they're looking for a medal, but who cares? I think it's made it different. I've seen it different because one, if the Smurf is on my team, we're winning. That's awesome. I get carried. I don't really care. And if they're on the other team, then I've just accepted that I've lost because my little bronze Hanzo versus like Faker on the other team is just, I've accepted the loss when I see a Smurf on the other team. So I don't have to assign the blame. I can just GG go next like that much quicker. Whilst if it's a closer matchup, then I can like just hard grill my teammate. I feel like there's more toxicity. Whilst unranked GM players, I'm like, oh, okay, we've already lost. Fakers on the other team trying to make another account sounds good. And if they're on my team, I'm like, thanks for the SR. So the unranked GMs I hate is when they use like a really useless hero or like a really like weak hero to just try and prove a point. Like and I haven't played ranked in a while, so maybe I'm like not caring as much. But like, the people were like unranked the GM on Lifeweaver, or like when he was like really, really weak, or like the unranked to GM on this like super weak like non-meta hero. And it's like, yeah, I'm glad they're having fun. And I feel like Overwatch is at a state where no one's really like, this isn't the Olympics of esports anymore. I feel like no one's. The sentiment I've gotten from the GM community and just the community in general is that it's not like that big of a deal to climb anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's just like a Twitter thing, but yeah, now people are just trying to make like creative Overwatch content with like unranked to Lifeweaver, unranked with Reinhardt, unranked to whatever with this hero, and like those are like the ones that I don't care for. Not because like, you know, I respect their grind, their hustle, their, you know, content drought, but it's the fact that they're also inspiring people in lower ranks to that, oh, well so and so got GM with Lifeweaver, so he's not that bad, or oh, so and so got to top 50 on Brig, not communicating a single time. And it's like, hey, those are amazing players who will make bad heroes good because of everything but the, like I've cast a lot of one-trick teams, even in contenders, who play like the worst comps possible, comps with like so many counters, and they'll still beat really good teams. But that tells lower ranked ELOs that you can do it too. You can also be like high rank with Lifeweaver, or not opening your mic, or playing this, or Moira. Like the, what is it? Isn't there like a famous GM Moira that just like flanks all the time? Yeah, like those people are inspiring lower ranks to do stupid shit and not to do it well, and then they ruin games, while as the people who do get GM doing those things are obviously good enough to have an impact. So that's the unranked to GMs that I hate.
That's true. If they're like inspiring people to do stupid stuff, expecting it to have the same outcome, and it's like, no, it's not.
The wrong type of influencer. Influence them to go Kiriko, man.
Right, like the ones where they go ahead, Ben.
And then they queue into your lobby, right? And they're gonna try that out. Yeah, appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, the ones with like a specific thing. So like, you know, like not using a specific ability of your hero just to see if you can still do it. Like, you know, no unballing or something with ball or something. Yeah, I think that's. I was just curious to get your guys' perspective. I will note how League of Legends pilled Lemonkiwi has gotten, because she earlier referred to someone as a champ and now talks about faker.
It's like
I get faker, like about faker in bronze Hanzo versus faker. It's like, I don't even know faker is that. Would he be good in Overwatch? Okay. Would he be GM in Overwatch? I don't know. He's the GOAT, but yeah,
Faker is the best esports player of all time. You don't know Faker? Wake up. Okay, get out from under your rock.
but why go to Faker? It's like, oh well, Faker's on your team. I don't know what his Overwatch ELO is.
Then all the Shock fans are gonna be like, oh, proper is washed, and it's like, I feel like there's no Overwatch equivalent, but that's like another podcast. But
sure,
anyway, you guys knew what I meant.
The GOAT debate. The GOAT debate.
The true GOAT.
Yeah. Okay. So we can move on then from that area. Now we can talk about balance. So this is always a hot button issue for many reasons. But one thing that I often see a divide on is this whole idea of like, well, who should be balanced for? Who does Blizzard balance for? Does the concerns of people in bronze and silver and gold matter? Or should it always be top down? Should always be like the best players, we balance for them, and then whatever happens, happens. So I'm curious to your guys' POV first on the bigger picture of like how philosophically you think or what should be balanced, and then we can talk maybe some of the nitty gritty. So I'll go to Cuppcaake first. Cuppcaake, how do you feel it should be balanced?
I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of like really strong like balance opinions, because I mean, if I was making the game, I mean there's just so much, right? I don't understand how we come up with something sometimes, because like you said, you have to account for the lower ranks and the higher ranks who are essentially playing two different games because of the skill like gap. So it's very different for lower ranks and higher ranks. And a lot of times I trust the process, and I know I'm very alone. So every time there's like balance changes, everyone's like, oh my god, they nerfed blah 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 and they buffed blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, my mentality is so different from like everybody's, and I feel very alone on this. But I am very much like accepting of it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to trust the process, because the devs, the people that make this game, they came up with this for a reason, and I might not immediately understand that reason, but I am willing to give it a try. And I do like that they listen to a lot of the community feedback, which I think is really important. So the people that are really passionate about balance changes and what's working and what's not, again, they know and understand a lot better than I do. So for me to be like, oh well, this blah blah blah. I mean, I'm in plat, so it's like my experience is not the same as those in top 500, and it's not even the same as those in bronze either. So I can't really do much except trust the process and try to work with it and see how it goes. But I know I'm pretty alone. I feel very alone on that because a lot of people have very strong opinions on balance, and that's where it gets really chaotic because you have so many different opinions, and it just gets a little overwhelming sometimes. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty easygoing. Like I will make whatever work, you know. So, and again, if they nerf one of my one of my main heroes, like I'm not too upset about it because then sometimes it gives me a reason to focus more on someone else, and then it kind of makes the game feel a little bit fresh for me anyway. So I don't get like extremely upset. Like if they nerf Ana, like yeah, it might suck, but that's okay because I can put more focus onto someone else and
Right.
spend more time on them anyway. And instead of being like, well, we have to have Ana because we have to have this anti for da 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 da, you know, like it's kind of like whenever Mercy was like the must pick, like back in Overwatch 1, it was like if you did not, there was a time where if you did not pick Mercy, like you were throwing. If you didn't have a Mercy on your team, like you're throwing. And I hated that. Like for so many years, I felt like I had to play Mercy because you had to have her. She was the meta. And it was, I, for a little bit, like hated I don't play a lot of Mercy anyway nowadays, but there was a time where I was
Right.
like, oh my God, if I have to play her one more time. So again, I like to just trust the process and
Gotcha.
like see the best, you know, that I can do with it.
Yeah, I think it's a very healthy. Again, it's always healthier to kind of take responsibility on yourself than try and focus too much on what else is happening outside, external agency. So better to have internal agency. But Bame, what about you? How do you feel about the balancing? Does it ever like bother you? Do you think that like it should be catered to GM only, or more attention should be paid to what's happening in bronze and gold?
Yeah. First off, I'm with Cuppcaake actually. Like I try not to worry about things I can't control, right? I can't control the balancing. And I also like I don't really theory craft on what they should do very often because no one really wants my opinions and it doesn't matter anyways, right? So I actually like don't think about that stuff very often. I'm just not wired to think like that. Focus more on myself and things I can control. I have been doing some mutual pro bono work with Atlas AV. He's a coach, starting out, and I talked to him a little bit about this too because like I kind of struggle with it. And I wanted to be decent for this podcast, and we're talking a bit how I think devs should balance high ranks for like flexibility and diversity, right? So it's not just like one set meta of 5 characters versus 5 characters. I think high rank is fun when it's you can do a few things, right? For lower ranks, like our ranks, I think they should balance for fun. They should make it fun, right? Like we're having fun. The meta doesn't really matter. We should like most of the characters should probably be kind of fun, and I think that makes sense. So I think that's kind of 2 different ways to balance. And the other thing too is if you think about heroes like if you're playing like gold or whatever, right? And you think about heroes like Torb versus Tracer. I got the way I got out of bronze and got to gold was simply playing Torb in the high ground. This is when the turret was a little bit better, but I would just go on the high ground, sit up there, and your turret's going to get value no matter what, right? Like you're going to get numbers. Oh my God, a kitty just ran by. You're going to get numbers no matter what. But if you're a Tracer and like you're doing bad, like you won't even show up on the scoreboard, right? You might have 80 damage. So kind of balancing things out like a Torb for like it like you'll a Torbos. Oh, I'm getting lots of value because I'm getting damage, but the Tracer does nothing. I don't know. It's kind of this is tough. Like it's kind of a tough subject for me, and it seems a little weird, but I think just kind of keep it fun for everyone to play. And I'm sure Lemonkiwi probably has a lot more input on this.
Yeah, Lemon, go ahead.
It's rough. So for anyone who doesn't know, I helped out with one experimental patch way back then. And there's like several factors to why that entire patch failed, at least on my side. Like I can be really self-aware on that. I think when a lot of people can have opinions on balance. And then when it comes to actually implementing the numbers, it takes like a freaking scientist to figure out like the exact numbers. Like you could be like, oh, ball needs a buff, and then be like, about what? Like where? Like what number? Like what would like when you actually get to the details, it gets really fuzzy because it has like this avalanche effect of like it affects everything. It doesn't even affect just that tank. It affects the tank's interactions with other heroes, other supports. So anyway, I got like so lost just trying to figure out balance. And I never was somebody who claimed to know how to balance. And there are devs that just understand those. I guess when I was talking to the devs, like they're called like damage thresholds or just thresholds of like how much ammo does it take to do this and that. And it was just all these numbers that devs just generally know better. Like when I finally got to sit down with a dev, because sort of like a leak was that a lot of that patch was done by ourselves, no help, no talking amongst each other. And as a diamond to master player, like I don't know the numbers and thresholds and stuff like that. But once the patch sort of got fixed, I kind of got to sat down with a dev eventually to talk numbers, because I had a ballpark idea of what I wanted to do. But to summarize that, the state of balance in Overwatch, in my opinion, is so different than other games, because I cover a lot of games, and for example, TFT, it's like an auto chess game that Riot does. They actually cater, they look at a lot of stats, they have a lot of simulations, and obviously it's a way different game, not ever saying that they should be balanced the same way, but their whole mentality is that they balance the game around the stats of the highest ranked people. And like, for example, if one composition does well in lower elos but does badly in higher elos, they will buff that composition, which I found to be like a really interesting thing. While as in Overwatch, I feel like a lot of things are balanced based on casuals, and maybe this has to do with what the direction of the game or who do they want to attract to their game. TFT wants a lot of sweaty, hardcore chess people to come in. They're a growing esport, so they want more competitors to come in, and they want the competitors to feel rewarded or to feel like they have good balance at their elo, while as because maybe those are the people that are going to spend the most money on the game, most time on the game, I don't know. But Overwatch, it's like maybe casuals are the ones that they want to I always felt like Overwatch catered to casuals more than anything, whether it's the hero designs that have come out or just some of the nerfs and buffs that they've done. And I think it's very hard to balance Overwatch, and I've always been on the mentality that it is impossible to balance Overwatch because of the amount of roles that we have, how they interact with each other, and all this stuff. And I feel like a lot of times Overwatch balance is based on just let's just change the meta, so let's buff and nerf random things. Like for example, Ana has been a hero that's like barely really been touched, and all of a sudden she's getting nerfs, and like that like threw me for a loop because there's not really much reason for that in my opinion. So I feel like a lot of nerfs and buffs just come out of let's just change things, and there's not, sometimes I don't feel like there's a reason. Obviously I'm not in their back room to know, but they cater a lot of things to casuals. Like if there's one hero that's not doing well in lower elos, they will buff that hero. And Overwatch, that's just where their mindset is. And maybe it's just harder to balance Overwatch because they don't have like the stats, the thresholds, and like all these simulations that maybe a Riot or TFT have, or maybe it's just easier for them. But I've stopped caring about balance because one, I haven't made this my entire life in terms of I don't one trick Overwatch streams anymore. If I did, I would lose my freaking mind. And there really just isn't that many Overwatch, I think, streamers because of the balance is just like all over the place. Whether it's Lifeweaver comes out being super, super weak and is like ruining games. I quit Overwatch like one of those times because Lifeweaver came back later. Maga came out, super OP. Everyone's playing Maga, and it's just like all over the place. So I think it's better to not care about things that like you guys have said, you have no control over, that you don't understand and will most likely not agree with. And I feel like there's just never going to be a point where the community agrees on a balance. And so there's not really much point of arguing because I think we all have our biases on like what heroes we like. For example, I'm pissed that Ana's getting nerfed because I'm an Ana main. while as people who are Sombra mains will be like, why hasn't Sombra gotten buff? Or like, we all have our biases, and that's just going to show. And I think we can't have a productive conversation without understanding those numbers and understanding every single little interaction. And that's why I wish like balanced people listen to higher ranked people more. But then again, those biases are going to show. The DPS players want DPS buffed, the tanks want tanks buffed, and etc. And I just don't think there will ever be a point of pure like perfect Overwatch balance. So why not just keep changing the meta so people keep coming back and keep releasing heroes and like super busted so that people come and try the super busted hero or pay the battle pass to play it, or feel like they're forced to pay the battle pass in order to win games. And yeah, it's just a game that's both very difficult to understand how to balance, and also because I don't understand it, I feel like it's random, and maybe that's not the correct opinion. And also catering to a casual base is gonna frustrate the higher elo people to the point where they don't want to give opinions / probably not stream full time anymore. So it's tough. I don't have a good answer to all that.
And the higher ranks, they're I feel like the loudest with their opinions, like, and more people are hearing their opinions, whereas like everyone that's casual or lower ranked, our opinions probably get a lot less heard anyway. So it kind of makes it difficult when the higher ranks are the ones putting in the most into their opinions on the balances. So it's like, how much are we going to really change with our opinions anyway, if they're not really even being heard, or with, like Lemon said, they're so conflicting because everyone has their own bias too. So, but yeah, I think it's really interesting that we're all kind of like on the same page when it comes to balancing, which I kind of wasn't expecting. I really thought I was very alone and like not putting too much thought into the balance changes and just kind of like trusting the process and going with the flow. Because yeah, like Lemon said, there's no way I'm ever going to understand every single little detail. And unless I do understand every little single detail, like I don't feel like my opinion is going to be the best for the game.
Yeah, and I like that they changed it up a lot. Like keep the game fresh, right? Like I don't want to steal game. Change it. Maybe it's the season for Arissa or whatever, and she pops off and people climb for a bit. And then they nerf her, and then they all fall down. Like I'm okay with that. Like that's fun,
Yeah,
right? For a little bit,
same.
as long as they kind of spice it up, and your character's not always terrible for 2 years.
Yeah, like I get to play. I play Overwatch almost every day, and I don't play the same hero like every game. Like I literally change it up almost every single game. Like one game I'll start as Ana but end as Lifeweaver, or I'll start as Lifeweaver and as Kiriko, or I'll go in as Mercy and Kiriko. Like I'm able to play so many different support heroes in the day, and I love that. I love going to a game and being like, okay, let's see, what's our tank going to be, what does our DPS look like, and then picking my support hero based on that. I love that. I love that. I feel like I'm constantly playing a different support hero with a different tank every game. It's never the same thing, and that to me is great, because whenever Overwatch 1 got so stale at one point where it was like the same meta, like you had to pick this, you had to support this tank, and I hated it. It made me like really dislike Overwatch for the longest time, and it was so stale. And I'm really happy that I thoroughly enjoy playing Overwatch 2, which is amazing considering how much I really started to not like Overwatch 1 towards the end. Like it was really bad. Like it was hard. I felt like I was forcing myself to play the game and to stream it, and I was not having fun. It was not a good time. But Overwatch 2, people ask me all the time, like, oh, what do you think about Overwatch 2 and going to 5v5? I personally have enjoyed playing Overwatch 2 so much. And I think that also being like a casual, like, plat rank has also helped with that mentality of not overthinking too much and just trusting the process, going with the flow, focusing on myself. Like, I love feeling like I'm doing well and I'm, doing really cool plays, and I'm like, oh my god, like that's what's exciting for me. That's what makes the game fun for me, and being able to switch it up all the time makes it fun for me. So I get really confused when I see a lot of like frustration and stuff sometimes, because I don't feel the same frustrations a lot of time. Like I'm having fun. So
I feel like
Yeah.
you take the frustration out of me because I've like played with you a few times and I usually get really frustrated. And I play with you and you're so PMA and so nice. And I'm like, we're losing and I'm having fun because Cuppcaake is here just doing her best.
Dude,
And, you know,
I
if we
loved
lose.
playing with y'all. I had so much fun. I was like, this is amazing. Like, I love getting to play support alongside Lemonkiwi. And, like, I have, like, clips still from that game. And it was so much
It was
fun.
so fun. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what like Overwatch just needs to return to is like I think people took it so seriously and we're all just trying to climb and like flex that, oh, this is our peak and this is this and
Yeah.
we're
Your
a
rank
top
means
ranked
everything.
streamer. And it's like, oh, we gotta play meta and we gotta swap and we gotta win and we gotta sweat our asses off in order to like have a carry performance to turn a game around. And then once I dialed back, like, and I played with Cuppcaake or played with other streamers who are just like, obviously who like have to stream Overwatch all the time, so they can't sweat and they can't just like go a X Games mode every game because that would be exhausting and just like mentally draining. So you take a step back and you just kind of play the heroes you want and have fun. And you know, if you lose, like something funny happens, you laugh about it, you don't get pissed. And like playing with people like her has like changed the way that I have like approached the game. Whereas like me and SVB, we like when we used to duo back in the day, we were both like trying our asses off. Obviously he was taking a step down at like what ELO he usually plays at, and I'm sure he had his whole experience at my ELO, but we were like trying our asses off. One, because I was trying to impress like all the GMs that would come and like play with me, whether it was like SVB or someone else. Like I'm trying to prove that like I'm not that bad, you know. So I'm sweating when I'm playing with like hiring people. But when I play with people more like my rank or lower rank, that I have more fun, I'm more chill about it. And like, I feel my whole attitude changes depending on what like goal I have in mind, what people I play with. Not saying that SVB brought out the toxicity, but we both like understand what dog shit is. And we sometimes like to call it out, or sometimes we like to think it out loud to ourselves. So like, yeah, it was funny though. I had fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, those were some dark days, to be honest, when the shit was like,
What do you mean?
it's just Lemonkiwi cooking some guy in team chat always. So
Hey, you were there too. You cooked them too.
It wasn't just me.
yeah, I mean, I tried to keep my cooking private. Your cooking was on blast. I feel like the cooking took place. But
that's the thing that sucks too about
reformed.
being.
I always enjoyed our games.
that's the-
I always enjoyed our games. Go ahead, Bame.
That's the other thing that sucks about being gold is like all the homies are GMs, right? Like all the streamers I watch, I'd want to do content with. It's kind of sad, but what I've been doing though is I have been grouping more because I don't want to get carried either, right? Like I've got some values for that. But what I've been doing is like, Ball's a dive hero. Do you want to work on Tracer, right? So they find some cursed account that can play with me and like have them work on a hero they don't usually play with, right? They get to kind of practice something, and usually like I don't usually get carried too hard from that. So that's how I've been kind of enjoying playing with some of my higher ranked friends and still feel a little bit ethical about it.
This does bring in a good discussion point about. I mean, I think everyone agrees that Overwatch is more fun when you're playing with your friends, you're playing with your homies, and I think that's been something that's been felt. People have felt is like missing the facilities to get there. Like obviously the LFG is gone, and I've heard a lot of people say that they wish it was back. But of course, it's also like a bunch of stacking restrictions, which I believe are going to be season 10 onwards. Like I know they're not coming next season, but potentially season 10 onwards, they're going to be removing a lot of the stacking restrictions, but not all of them. Do you guys feel like there's anything more that Overwatch could do or should do to kind of make playing with your homies a little bit easier?
Looking for group was so big. I made so many friends. Just even I would go into quick play as like warm up and like do that, or I would look for group and like find a fellow support mate. And it's like that really sucks that they took that away, because now I only solo queue because same thing, like homies are in GMs, and I made a lot of friends. And usually in LFG it was people who like wanted to try, like it would say in the title either like if it wasn't some pervy ass thing, it would be like oh I really want to try hard, or you could tell it's like oh I'm making friends or having fun. And then I would pop into those groups and then queue, and that was like the most fun. I made a lot of friends doing that. I have zero clue why they got rid of that, and I'm guessing it's
Wow.
because GMs can't stack or whatever. But like in the lower elos, that was like the best way to find like a nice little group, and because you knew that one, they had mics, and two, they wanted to communicate, and three, that they cared enough that they wanted to find a group. So that would be a huge
That's
fix, I
true.
think.
I wonder if it's because some people. I wonder if it wasn't used as much as they intended or something. Because I'll be honest, I never really used it. I literally solo queue only. Like, it is very rare. Like, I think the last time I played with like friends was when I played with Lemonkiwi and Leg Day and stuff, and that was a long time ago at this point, like months ago. I only solo queue, and I don't know why it is that I am so insistent on solo queuing, but I do. And I do feel like sometimes I'll think like, oh man, I wish there was a way to like find people in my rank to play with. And then I remember LFG was literally a thing that I didn't use, right? So I'm like, my bad. Like, if maybe I used it or more people used it, maybe they would have kept it. I'm not sure why they took it away either. I kind of wish the option was still there, but it's not. And I'm not good at making friends. And even in random games, like I'm solo queuing, and every once in a while, like even in the last week, I've had at least 2 different games where the entire lobby was so much fun, like so like great energy, like we won the game, like we're really coordinated, and it was nice. And then they'll be like, do you guys want to stay as a group? And I don't, and I go on to keep solo queuing. And I don't know what it is about my mentality. Maybe because that's happened before, where it's only that game and then the next game is like complete ass, and you're like, shit, how do I get out of this group? You know what I mean? So so I'm like, no, I'm just gonna like re-roll and try again and see what luck I get in the next game. So I don't know if it's I don't know. Obviously, I know people are upset about the restrictions and whatnot, but I know nothing about it because I literally only solo queue. And I think
Yeah, I
that
mostly solo.
Oh, I was
I'm
gonna
the
say,
same way. I mostly. Go ahead. You finish.
sorry, no, I'm sorry, that's a delay. I was just gonna say, I think that the reason why I'm so like used to solo queuing was because at the beginning of Overwatch, the mentality of like, you have to be good, you have to prove yourself. And I remember I had an account that I would play like for fun off stream, and people were like, oh, you got carried and all this stuff. And I made the point too, I made a new account, I only played it on stream, I only solo queued, and then I still made it to GM, and I was like, see, and it was like this really like horrible mentality of, oh, I have to prove myself. And I don't feel that way anymore about like having to prove myself, because I literally do not care whatsoever. But I think it just kind of just like stuck with me, and I just got used to playing by myself. So anyways, go on.
Yeah. So I play solo too because I'm also streaming, by the way. And guess what? I'm an introvert. So like to keep up with chat, like I care about chat more than I care about my SR, right? My Twitch chat. So like that's why I mostly solo queue. Now what I've been doing to actually do a little bit more is I've been asking other streamers that I hang out with, and we kind of have the same vibe. I've been asking them to do it more, and I'm actually doing like two almost 3 duos a week. And that's been kind of nice. So that's how I kind of do a little bit more, and it's been pretty fun if you find the right vibes to go with.
Okay.
You don't feel like a secluded person.
Yeah, I think one facet of why maybe LFG didn't work, and why, or maybe, again, I think maybe it didn't get enough usage as they were hoping it would, and maybe their internal data showed that not that many people were using it, is that it felt like games just got harder when you stacked, right? I remember I stacked a fair amount in Overwatch 1, and I had like this stack that I used to do with like Nateson and Frito. We used to do a stack quite regularly, and we would just always get really mad at how bad the games got when we stacked, because it'd be like each of us could play solo queue and we'd be having a pretty comfortable time. But then the minute we're like trio, we'd have like some guy in our team who's like not played in 2 years. Like you look at his profile, he hasn't played in 2 years. The enemy team have like everyone is like a rank higher, or it's like, back in Watch 1, it'd be like there was quite obviously a Smurf. You could tell there was like level 25, and it felt like the game was trying to punish you. And even if it wasn't sabotaging you in that way, it would put you up against another stack who would be better than your average team, which means that they're gonna be harder than a normal solo queue game. So I think that was one of the major reasons I remember that like not wanting to stack so much, is that I was like, why am I getting harder games with my homies. Like I want to play and have fun with my homies, but it feels like we have to like try twice as hard. We're gonna lose more than if I just solo queued. And on top of obviously some of the things you mentioned, which are like streamer problems, which is like, well, you want to talk to your chat when you're streaming, and you know you want to be able to focus on them. And it's hard to talk to other people when you're also like, you know, muting yourself constantly so you can talk to chat is like a bit of a pain.
True.
So I do think though, but on the bigger picture, I think the fact that they had these like soft punishments for stacking, like they weren't hard punishments. They weren't actively telling you, hey, by the way, when you stack, your game's gonna get harder. They're like secret punishments that, you know, it softly discourage you from stacking. I feel like those, I understand why they occur, because obviously if there wasn't any like, let's say they created a rank system where there was no accounting for stacking, right? If you were 3 stack or not, it didn't change the matchmaker. Then it would be a tangible benefit. Like you would have to stack, because then as a solo queue player, you're at a disadvantage because you're not already coordinating people, and maybe solo queue players would feel unfairly treated because, you know, everyone hates to be the one solo queue player in a team with like a 4 stack or something, right? Or, you know, you're like, oh, there's a 3 stack in or 2 duos or something, and they're talking amongst themselves and they're not interested. So like all those things feel really bad, and presumably the dominant number of players play as solo queue. But all that being said, I do still think that there could have been a better solution without punishing you so hard for stacking, while, you know, not necessarily making it mandatory. I think it would be, there's a middle ground somewhere that encourages people to stack, because that is, I think, as you guys have all pointed out, like it's really fun, and that social aspect is what makes Overwatch that makes the experience more lasting than just endlessly solo queue hitting next game, right? Do you guys have any more thoughts you want to share on like social features and that kind of element before we move on to the next topic? No.
I don't think so.
Nope.
Okay. Well, let's move on. I'll drop in this question. Having already heard you guys' responses to different things, I'm not sure it's going to get much of a spicy response. But do you guys think that ELO Hell is real? Because this is another often metal rank topic where people feel like, so to explain what ELO Hell is the idea that there are certain ranks across the system when you're doing like a climbing based ladder, that there are certain ranks where playing well is actually like a punishment in some way. Like basically trying to do the right things actually get you punished and teach you bad habits, because everyone else in your rank is doing such stupid things that you end up suffering for quote unquote playing correctly. So in that, or perhaps you have your own slightly different definition, do you guys think that ELO Hell is real? Cuppcaake, you kind of went ooh off the rip.
Because I've been asked this question before, and and I don't even remember what I said. It was a few months ago, and I'm very like kind of torn. So yeah, I think you're right. You're not gonna get like super spicy, like yeah or no. I'm kind of torn because for one, I mean, okay, there are a lot of situations where I'm looking at my random teammates and just wild things that they're doing, or you know, we still do get people that just blatantly throw, or people that like, you know, DC, and like you're going to lose those games, and it's like it does happen fairly often, and it does feel like it's holding you back. So when those things happen, it gets frustrating because you're like, okay, this and this all happen completely out of my control. There's nothing I can do about it, yet I am being punished for it. But at the same time, I'm also very aware that I'm also in the situation because of myself. So if I was like constantly watching like YouTube tutorials and like constantly like polishing up on everything that I can be doing perfectly correct, then maybe I would have an easier time climbing. But like I said, I just enjoy just playing the game. I like figuring things out on my own and whatnot. So I also know that it's kind of a balance between, yes, there's other players that are holding me back sometimes, but then there's also myself that holds myself back sometimes, and I'm very aware of that. So I can't really say, like I said, I don't like to say anymore like, oh, I'm hard stuck plat, because I'm not really like it's not my goal to be getting out of it anyway, because I don't mind. Like I said, I have a lot of really good positive games in plat, and that is a better far better experience to me as a whole playing the game than what my rank says I am. And if I really wanted to get out of plat, I'm sure I really could try. I could also play when I'm not streaming and distracted by reading chat and stuff, which is like not my chat's fault either, but I do like Bame said, my focus is like having a good time, and I am constantly looking at chat. I'm constantly reading chat. I'm constantly having conversations. I'm constantly multitasking while playing Overwatch. So the fact that I'm able to do as well as I do in plat games while also like having conversations the whole time, like, is, you know, not bad. But what if I did play more off stream and I didn't have any distractions and I just, I probably would have a better time climbing, but again, it's not really my focus. So, for me, I don't really think too much about ELO Hell or getting like hard stuck, to be honest. Not anymore, anyway. Not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for
Yeah, go
me,
ahead,
there was
Lemonkiwi.
two big elo hells that I've experienced. One like was that one time where I did my placements with like a silver and I didn't know MMR and I got placed gold and then I was like, oh yeah, gold. Like I'm usually a diamond player, so whatever, easy clap, right? And then I played gold and my two elo hells that I'll start with naming them is gold and diamond in my opinion. Gold, I feel like, and no shade to golds or below, okay, I'm just saying what I'm noticing is people doing whatever the heck they want. It's kind of deathmatch. It's a Wild West over there where everyone's kind of playing selfishly. Everyone's just doing their own thing. They don't kind of understand the team environment. There's like serious foundational issues, whether it's like positioning, mechanics, hero flexibility, like everything needs work. And there's not like a foundation there that I've noticed. And or if there is, they play their own game and you'll have like the one DPS that pops off and everyone else is like doing their own thing. So I had to completely make a new account and like do my placements, place higher than gold, and then I was chilling, getting out of like plat to go to diamond. And then my other elo hell was diamond. I've been in diamond like for forever, and then I got to masters like this past season because I feel like diamond, a lot of the players have a foundation in like one department, whether it's like positioning, understanding of the game, or hero flexibility or mechanics. And a lot of the time I feel like diamond players have solid mechanics or like decent mechanics and then decent positioning, but to like get to the master's level, you need to be like excelling at the very least at one of those things, or they really need to like go to the next level, and they just have like a foundation in one of those things, and that's enough to get them to that level, but then they're so lost on other things. Like, for example, I feel like I have a good understanding of positioning, but my mechanics are just not master's GM level, and I play characters that kind of need it. Or there are people who are just really mechanically good, but then have zero brain. Like your Hanzos that look like Smurfs are at this level, but then they just like feed or frontline or do stupid shit. And I feel like they don't realize sometimes what their issues are because they have such a good foundation in one of those departments, or they just can't improve to excel at that point. So I've been the most hard stuck in gold, which I just made a new account and I was fine, and diamond, for those reasons.
Interesting.
Very
That's
true. I do agree with those points. They're very relatable to what I experience as well, actually. I think I'm just so used to them. I'm like, this is life. Like, this is just how it is. Like,
well, I'm curious to get Bame's opinion now, because Bame, you obviously spent a lot of time in gold that Lemonkiwi talked about, and
my bad.
Yeah, you kind of.
I didn't know you were gold.
No, he spent like you bounce in and out. So I think you go through all the things. But how do you feel about what was described there?
Oh yeah, I think all that's valid for sure. What everyone's been saying so far. So I don't really think ELO Hell exists as much as people think. Let me at least put it that way. One ELO Hell was fucking low bronze though, man. That shit is a hell you never want to be in. Those games are the most lopsided garbage pieces of trash ever. So, and I know this because I was bronze with everything, right? And then I climbed my tank to like gold. And then I feel like the games are so random in bronze, and like the tiniest amount of things that can can like carry a team or whatever. So it's like it's so wild, dude. But like what I find, so okay, I got to gold on tank and then I was still in bronze. But once I got out of bronze on both DPS and support, it took me 1 season to get to gold on both of those guys in Overwatch 1. So I feel like the games are so shit in bronze, like good luck. You better hope you're praying to the right gods, okay? But once you get silver, I think the games are actually like mildly legit. And basically, to get out of bronze and silver, I tell people just work on your positioning, bro. That's probably why you're like. And what's infuriating about being a platinum ball playing and but playing as like a silver Zenyatta is silvers think they're invincible if they're in mid and jumping, dude. It's like that's the meta, is being a silver and jump down mid and they're never gonna get shot. And like I'm sitting there as Zen, I'm like, bro, you're gonna die, dude. Like that guy actually has aim. Like jumping down mid ain't gonna save you, bro. And then they die and they're like, why can't I get heals from Zen, bro? I'm like, dude, why don't you hug a fucking wall, man? Like I don't know, dude. Once you get to gold, I feel like you need to actually be good at something to get out of gold. And then, I don't know, from plat, it just kind of progresses from there, I think. That's kind of what I've been thinking. Now, like, I'm pretty much plat. I'd say I'm mostly hardstyle plat, but I'm trying to get out. Like, I think to get out of that, I need to increase my hero pool, right? So I've been working with Alice AV, and I'm working on Zarya and Sigma, so I can brawl and poke a bit. I think that's going to get me out of platinum and into diamond sustainably.
Yeah. I like how you mentioned the wall, because that is also a very big thing in plat where people do not utilize cover. Like people very much in plat expect to be able to just like go out into the open like 1v5 and like be able to survive with both your healers pocketing you and stuff, and that does get really frustrating. Like being like, yo, just like use the corner a little bit, use some like do something, not instead of just being like, I'm here in the open and I expect to live through everything. And it's like it doesn't work that way, and that is not very understood in plat, I feel like. So I like that you mentioned the use the wall.
Especially in tanks, I feel like one part of Overwatch, at least playing tanks, is understanding the level that your teammates are at and what you can get away with. Tanks, like as a tank, like I think how I got to Masters was kind of, I don't have like faker mechanics or proper mechanics, whatever you want to say. But it's based on like what you can get away with, and I think with good positioning and understanding where your peak healers are at, because you can have if you have insane healers, you could do a lot more. And if you realize how much you can do more. But if you're not able to measure what your team's production is, then you are in situations where you 1v5, or not 1v5, but in a situation where you want to push high ground, you want to 1v2. I think tanks can take 1v2s if they have, or I guess not 1v2s if you have a support, but like if your supports are preoccupied or they're just not that good, they're not playing the heroes that can support you well, and you don't kind of understand your composition or what your production of your supports are, then you're doing things that would be normal for your tank or for your position to do, but because your tank or your supports aren't that good, your DPS aren't whatever, then you fail at doing something that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then that's when you go to blame other people, whatever. But as soon as you understand like what your composition is supposed to do and how they're supporting you, and you measure, you adapt your playstyle to what your composition, what your healers can produce reasonably at their mechanics, at their level, then you won't die as much. And I think being able to understand your composition and your teammates helps you survive a lot more on tank. And I think people, like especially in plat, diamond, tank level, they'll go in, die, where maybe it wasn't the wrong thing to do, like it depends the situation, but then the supports aren't there to help them, and then they'll immediately blame the supports, where sometimes that is fucking valid. Sometimes supports are the reason team fights can't be very productive. But the tank also needs to realize, are you going in with supports paying attention to you? And are you playing at the level that your supports can keep up with? And I've played with Reinhardts that feed their asses off, but because I'm an Ana who is just pocketing them, and I think I'm a good, decent Ana, I can keep up with that. But a feeder Rein,
keep going.
Yeah, but a feeder Rein with any other support would probably just be dead, go 0 and 20. So it's like really important to know how your team is working with you and what they can do, and then tailoring how aggressive you are based off of that.
100%. Like literally, as you were saying that, I was literally thinking of the games where I'm Ana and there's a Rhine that's just like going like ham, and I'm like, let's go, and like making them live through the most insane shit ever, and you're like, yeah, and you're just thinking,
and it
like,
works,
if this
right?
wasn't me, this would not be happening right now, and it's fun, but yeah, you're totally right. They don't know when to pull back sometimes.
And then those
And
trust
I'm
issues
starting
is
to
when you
realize,
get passive tanks. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
people are too
and I'm
passive.
starting to realize I need to pay attention to my teammates a little bit more. I've been kind of realizing that too. I gotta kind of feed
Help
it
us
a
help
little
you,
bit.
you know, that's what I always say.
But I think what's tough about Baldo is I feel like I don't really die that much, but I'm not doing anything because I'm not helping my teammates do anything, right? Like maybe because I'm not dying doesn't mean I'm doing anything though necessarily, right? Even though I'm rolling around in the back line. I don't know.
Yeah.
Things,
I love
things
helping
golds it.
like tanks. Like a lot of times my priority is like I'm gonna make sure my tank lives, you know, like, and DPS are like, I need healing. I'm like, I want to keep my tank alive. This is my priority. So yeah, I think that if I were like playing with you, babe, I would be like, okay, what do you need from me to help you? Like, help me help you. That's like totally
Yeah.
my motto. And especially like in games all the time, people start complaining or they're like, why isn't this da, da, da? And I'm like, because I'm dying and I'm asking for help. Literally, help me so I can help you. That is my job. That's how this works. So yeah.
Yeah, my comms a lot when I'm playing Ana or just like any support. As much like as the hand holding I type to do is not like where you should go or who you should be targeting. Is I'm kind of helping them measure aggression, because I think tanks, the hardest thing to figure out is when and how far to go in, because you don't have an off tank that supports you. The people who are supporting you are your healers. And tanks at our level don't like turn around or don't communicate and don't like understand the state of the fight. So it's really important for the backline people, I think, to have mics. And when I'm on Ana, I'm telling someone like, I got you, go, 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 I got you. And then that confidence helps them go forward, helps them be aggressive, helps them be comfortable. Because I think playing solo tank at low elo is so uncomfortable because it's all on you. Like the fight makes or breaks around you, in my opinion. And if a support can just like give you that, because it's hard to trust people when you're just playing with randoms. As a tank, I'm constantly having trust issues of like, can I really go in? I have to turn around. I have to see if like, okay, you got me, do you got me? Or I'm like physically looking at them. But as a support, I think the most helpful thing you can do is just communicate that, hey, I'm with you, let's go. Or hey, let's wait a second, I'm doing this. And you don't even have to like direct the fight or a target or a position. You can just say, I'm with you or I'm not. Because once you have that kind of coordination between the tank and support, like things aren't just gonna fall over at step one. Step one is like moving forward and taking space or taking a position. And if you can't even do that properly, then like there's no point of bitching about mechanics or your matchups or anything. Like you need to be able to flow through a fight properly. And low elo tanks don't understand how to do that. So I try to handhold in that type of way.
Yeah, same. Because that's where the coordination comes in. Because
one of the funnest duos I had is with Shell Bebop, who's a Ryan main, right? But he was playing Ana for my Reinhardt, and he's going to teach me how to play Ryan. But he was like, he was telling me what to do on Reinhardt as he was Ana. He's like, go in, I got you, bro. And I was like, just feeding hard. That was so fun. You ever try to have like an Ana comm or Reinhardt? Try that. That's a fun experiment.
One of my favorites. Fun, yeah.
But I don't ever see anyone do it, but I had fun. I want to try that again, actually.
Yeah, I think this is like a microcosm of like, I think general helpful communication is like trying to help fill in the gap of what the role doesn't see potentially, right? So I think it's like for a tank, the hardest thing to know is what's behind you. And I think that's where a support sees everything in front of them, in theory. Like if you're playing well, you should see everything in front of you. And I also know like how, like if I don't calm much anymore, but if I am playing support and I'm calming, I would definitely be doing that. And I remember one of my most memorable duos was when I played with ML and he was playing support to my tank, and it became a meme in my chat because he was saying it so often where he'd just be like, I've still got immo, so like just to let me know that like I can keep going, right? Like I've still got immo, you know, you don't have to stop, I've still got immo, I'm still holding it, still got immo. So like just letting your tank know that you have like a certain resource ready for them is like, you know,
I got nano.
Yeah, nano. I still got nano. It's fine. I got you. I see you. I got nade. Or again, if I got immo, I've still got Suzu, right? Like I've still got Suzu. Don't worry about it. I've still got Suzu. Bame, you got something you want to add to that?
Oh, No, I want to do that, man. I might be locking Anna, and when I get that Reinhardt, I'm like, just keep going, bro. Keep going, bro. Charge, bro. That sounds like a party, man.
Don't
Yeah.
charge, bro.
It's really, I think I
No,
think it's really
charge,
helpful.
bro. Charge, bro.
And again, it's like similarly, you can help. You can help your DPS by letting them know that like a certain thing that's stopping them is gone, right? Like, oh, Torb turret's down, right? You can go if you're Tracer, you can go now, or like, there Kiriko doesn't have Suzu right now. If you're Genji, you can go. Like, this is maybe your chance to go with your blade or whatever, right? So these are helpful. I think the wider point that you guys are talking about is I think one of the most underrated skills of climbing that I always try to emphasize is like adaptability. I think is actually maybe the most important key to climbing is like actually, because I think people when this discussion of ELO Hell, to bring it back to the original topic, comes about, people would say it's because, well, I'm trying to do this in gold and that's not working, versus like I'm trying to do this in plat and it's working. And that's because like you have to adapt to the lobby you're put in, right? Even within a rank, some games you're in a lobby, like, and this happens again, this happens all the way in GM, right? You'll get in a GM game that's like sweaty, there's like top 500 players, they all know exactly what they're doing, and all of a sudden you have to like make sure everything you do is precise. And in the next game, it's like chickens running around, like some guys in Narnia flanking, the other guys like AFK, like half the time not playing, other guys one-tricking some like really obtuse hero that doesn't make sense here. And you just have to, like, the best way to come out of the right side of all that is just to adapt in that lobby. And that's very hard. It's like a really underrated skill and hard to quantify. Like, it's hard for anyone else to really realistically teach you in a simple principle. Oh, when that's happening, do this, because every game is kind of unique to some extent, and some random scenario that you never predicted is occurring right now, and you have to make the right decision. And only by like 1,000 hours of trial and error can you come to the right call of like, okay, actually this is what I should do right now. And obviously there's like so much more complicated factor that makes it hard to feel like you're always climbing for when you're improving, right? Like the certain maps can be like sometimes it's the GG. The truth is sometimes you can end up in a game and no matter how good you play, it's a loss. Or unless you were like literally one of the best players ever, it's a loss, right? Because I think sometimes you'll see people who do like Unranked To GMs who are like really, really good. They'd kind of be like, put me in this lobby and I'd win. It's like, yeah, no doubt you would, because you're that good. Like, I'm sure you on this hero would win, but I'm not that good, and I'm trying to be slightly better, right? I'm trying to be like, if it's a plat game, maybe I'm good enough to be diamond, but I'm not good enough to be GM. So I'm not going to make such a huge swing. So yes, theoretically someone else could just dominate, but you can't necessarily pull that out all of a sudden, and you just have to accept that, like, I think this game was a loss for now for these reasons. I'm just going to try my best, and I'm going to move on. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's ELO Hell, because this is a team game after all, and 5 other people are in the enemy team and 4 other people are in your team, and one of them is going to feel like they successfully played well and won, or many of them are going to feel that way. And you have to balance those in between your own personal experience of feeling like you popped off but you still lost, because that will happen.
Yeah. What I like to do is I like to, in like from a PMA perspective, I try not to put anything on my teammates. I like to point out that, hey, that Tracer on the other team, that guy is pretty good. He's not going to be gold very much longer, right? Like, I think it's more try to identify, holy shit, that other team, like, they're wild, they're good. Like, this is a GG go next. And yeah, like, if you win 6 out of 10 games, you're doing really good, right? So you're going to lose 4.
Yeah, absolutely. 60% win rate is very good, and it's hard to see it. That's just the problem with Overwatch, is that there's so many things that knock you back that it's hard to sometimes see if you are progressing. Because yeah, 60% win rate is very good. It's going to get you climbing, but it takes you a long time to actually climb a significant amount, and a lot of games before that 60% shows. So
yeah, it feels like even when I go 5-0, and then the next round I go 5-1, I still like barely move up. And it's like, how much better can I do than 5-0? And I'm like, still, it's like, you can go up 1, like, but then I've lose so fast.
I've got the opposite of that has happened to me a few times, which is almost as infuriating. It's really weird. Is when I win like 5, when I go like 5 and 14 and only go down from like silver 2 to silver 1, it's like, come on, that should hurt way more than that, but it didn't. I don't know. I get like, that's happened to me like 4 times in the last 2 seasons, and I'm like, what is this garbage? Like, does that mean the games I've gotten have been that atrocious against me that I only fell 1 rank on 14 lost card?
Well, I
I
think
don't
this
know, man.
actually
It's
this
weird.
actually leads well to another topic that I wanted to touch on is the rank system itself. So I think that's another asset that or facet that makes ELO Hell feel more real is the obscurity of like why are you climbing? Why am I not climbing? Because as you guys you will all have had these experiences of just like being completely bewildered by a certain placement that you did and you're like what that only resulted in this and that only resulted in that. Like to give a very clear example, like yesterday I went back on an account I hadn't played in a while and I was like this account is fucking cursed and I played like 2 games and like I lost and then I realized that I had lost so much in the previous account that I had my first ever 15 losses placement, right? I have until now I had never like lost enough games to have the placement come through that way.
I haven't
And
either.
I like lost
I've done
15
that. Oh.
games and I was like, oh shit, that sucks. And it dropped me like one like
Yeah.
one tier division. I was like, huh, okay, that's not so bad. And then the next placement I went positive and went down again. So it was like it was
Yeah.
obviously just like a hangover from the first 15 is that it just took a while to adjust my tier division. But that's stupid, right? Like it's counterintuitive because as a player I'm supposed to believe that my placement has placed me where I'm supposed to be, but actually no, it was just kind of lying the first time and the second time is actually moving. So I mean it's gonna be good. I think for most people they're happy that we're changing the system so it's a bit more clarity. But I am curious to your guys' opinion because I think ostensibly the justification for the new system, this current system changed from Overwatch 1 is that it helps with like ranked anxiety and that's going to help a lot of like, your average player play more often. So did you guys feel like that was something that happened to you? Like, did you feel like there were benefits to the new rank system or was it mostly bad?
I like the 7-win thing. I had a lot of ranked anxiety, and because it was always like -50 plus this plus, and it was like, I don't know. And it's weird because I don't get that as much in League where it is based off of like minuses and pluses like that. But I feel like they have more tiers of like gold 1, gold 2, gold 3, gold 4, and it feels more there's more divisions there. But anyway, yeah, I think there is a lot of obscurity just to touch upon that. But I feel like there's just not enough resources out there. I feel like a lot of educational streamers don't exist anymore. There's like very few. Educational content just doesn't perform well, and there's just no third-party software that exists for Overwatch. When I play like any other game, there's a website or a software that can help me identify problems. Like in TFT, which is again completely different game, I still think this can be applied in some ways. Of it'll tell me, oh, you did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, or you didn't do this, this, this. And I feel like there could be an Overwatch software that looks like, okay, here's your accuracy, here's how many times you've been first blooded or the first to die in a fight, here's your output versus the average output. I like that Riot has like a ranking of like, here's your performance and here's how it stacks up based on people at your rank. So you can be like, instead of being like, oh, I did more damage than DPS, or oh, I did the most healing in the game, or blah 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 blah. And it's like, is that even good? Like you like, I'm so glad that Overwatch has stats now, so you can do a little bit of self-reflection. It's not just like these gold medals that don't mean anything, and you can like compare and contrast. But like, I'd love to see like where my average falls for other people of my level, so I could say like, hey, I had a less productive game here, or hey, I like, for example, Ana, like, oh, I'm a heal bot Ana, but I do very low DPS compared to the average Ana. And I think that would give like, even just stats like that, I think would be so easy to implement, to take the averages, so that at least it gives you an idea of like, am I good or not on a person, so it gives you something to self-reflect on instead of stats of other people to like give you a reason to be toxic for. And maybe there's like, I feel like a software could be like, hey, you're picking this support into this tank that's gonna dive the shit out of you. It's like your counter. Are you sure you want, like, just saying you are playing a hero that is getting countered right now? Would you like to consider this? Or like just software that would like maybe suggest things like that would review your stats, that would give you tips. Like, I have software for League of Legends that if I play a certain champion, will be like, here's how to combine your abilities and here's how most people play this. Or they'll link, here are players that are like experts at that hero or at that champion that you can go to their streams and you can like review their content. There's just like no helpful information out there about Overwatch, and it's like people will watch top 500 streams, but they're not exactly explaining every little decision or why they're swapping to this or why this works this way. And there's like, a few educational streamers out there, but people have to rely on their own opinions of the game, and then we wonder why we're all just like arguing because there is no like right guide anywhere on Overwatch. And I really think it would be nice to have third-party software for Overwatch that can like help you improve at the game.
I would love that, because that's also something you can just do on your own time. Like, you don't have to like rely on one person's play style or like, watch YouTube videos and stuff that are like can be really hard. But like seeing a comparative, like people can say like, oh, do this, and GG. But I think you're right. Like seeing like numbers and statistics like side by side, or like, I think that would be beneficial for me as well, because then I could see like, okay,
D performance or
where am I like lacking, and what do I need to work on, not just like in that game, because like it's hard to compare just that one game, with like those random people, but like seeing it as a whole would be awesome. I think there used to be something like in Overwatch 1, the very beginning of it, because there was something that I was using to like see my like where I ranked in comparison to like other Mercies, because like when I first started playing Overwatch, and like I was like Mercy one trick, and I was like, I'm gonna be the best Mercy ever, and that's how I hit GM. But I was looking at like stats of other players, and I was using that to see what I needed to work on. I don't remember what it was, but I don't think
Maybe
anything like that
overbuff
exists anymore. Maybe, but I don't look at anything like that. Does that even exist? Do we use that anymore?
I think it got a lot worse once private profiles came in, because it couldn't access
Right.
it couldn't access
Okay.
all the data. I mean, I think Orbuff still exists, but I think it's like become increasingly less
It's not
accurate.
like as
And unreliable for that reason. I think Lemon brings up a great point, and I think that, like, to give an example, Dota 2 has, like, you can monetize it. Dota 2 has a Dota Plus where you can play, like, I think it's $5 to $10, like, I think it's $5 a month, and it gives you like full detailed breakdowns of like everything. Firstly, in the game, it'll like tell you, like, it can help you with item purchases, so it can tell you, like, usually at this stage of the game, a person who's playing your hero would buy these items, or one of these items. Pick, you can pick, but this is like a potential build. This is a potential build you can go for. This is a potential build. And it can also tell you, like, at this point in time, usually, you should have like 5 kills, 2 deaths, and like the average is 5 kills, 2 deaths, and 3 assists or something. And you can kind of adapt, or you can know, you can know, like, okay, actually my game's going pretty bad, so that's why I'm not as high, or actually I'm hitting those numbers, or I've got these last hits on creeps, or whatever it is. So these are like helpful performances. And obviously out of the game, you can compare your statistics and you can see how you're doing, etc., etc. And I think these are all really, really helpful. I remember 5 years ago, probably, maybe more, when I was like first getting into content creation as like an educational content creator, I made like a video being like, Blizzard, you should make a system that lets people teach people, like exactly how kind of Lemon was describing it, where I was like, I even made like a little visual mock-up where I was like, because in Dota, you can have guides, like guide makers can write a guide for every hero, and you can like select out of like a list that'll be in game. You can select a list that'll be like, okay, I want to select this type of guide, and then that person will tell you, like, select these levels. At level 1, I usually like to pick this, and this is how I use it. At level 2, I pick this, and this is how I use it. And then the items, again, they can kind of tell you should buy this item, but if it's going badly, buy this item. And I remember making like this mock-up. I was like, okay, well, let's say if it's King's Row, you can select like a guide from, SVB, and it tells you that, like, hey, on King's Row as Ana, I usually position here, but if my, tank is playing here, I'll position in this spot. And like a little, little overlay pop-up just comes up and says, like, usually I like to play here or there, or, usually the threat on this map is that someone comes from here, and you should think about that. Like, just, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to like
be helpful though.
Fix, yeah, but it's like a potential starter. I think it's really hard for people. It can be very overwhelming to start, and just these little things, like whenever I play these games, they're just like help me feel less anxious, I think, about what I'm doing.
That's true though.
Because I feel like I have a guiding hand.
Legends. And yeah, I used to follow guides like on what builds I should be doing as I go, and like that made me feel less like you said, less anxious about people being like, what are you doing, like, why are you building that first, and all this stuff. Or even when I used to play CSGO back in the day, I used to watch guides of like where to stand, where to line up your cursor, to throw your smoke bomb, to block off this, whatever, so you can. But like, I just don't really, I don't have anything that I go to for that like that, and for Overwatch I never really have. And like I know people make guides for certain things and positioning, but it's I don't know, it's a little overwhelming. Like it's not just like one place you go to and it's like there and you can find it. Like, yeah, interesting.
It's an idea. I don't realistically think we'll ever get anywhere near it. I mean, maybe not in, like
No.
without not until like, you know, if there was ever going to come, it'd be like 5 years. You know, like that's kind of the length of the looking at the development cycle. That's kind of like how long it would take for something like that to manifest. But it's an idea. Bame, how do you feel about any of this? So, and just also the ranking system. I think we started talking about the ranking system.
Hold on first. I got on this. So I've got two perspectives on this that are different. All right. So the first, I agree with Lemonkiwi. Overwatch doesn't teach people how to play this damn game at all, right? This game is fucking hard.
Yeah.
Even the tutorial is garbage. They never put time into it. I mean, I guess they got this hero master, right? They don't give you information. Like, can you even go to the website to look at how much a bullet does for damage? Right? Like, they hide all that stuff, right? So, like, I was talking to my coach about this too, right? And he actually is in like for the educational stuff, and he does stuff with bronze and all that. And he actually released a blueprint today that's really good. He showed me a preview. I'm trying not to plug too much, but Alex IV released a YouTube video today just kind of explaining it. So I just want to put that out there. And he's been helping me with prepare for this a bit. So I wanted to plug him there. But it's kind of like he's got a nice little flow chart there. And I haven't seen the video yet because it released like just now. But it's kind of making sense, and he's vetted it with a few people. On the other hand, okay, 2002, 2001, EverQuest first came out, right? I didn't even know what Google was back then. EverQuest was a brutal game. If you died, you had to get your corpse to get, you spawned naked, and you had to get your corpse back to get your items, right? No mini map whatsoever, no maps in game. You had to print off something on your HP inkjet printer, a scuffed map that you found on the internet. Yeah, pretty much. There's so much mystery there. So I've got, it'd be nice if Overwatch told you more, but kind of the nuances of Overwatch so makes it a little bit more fun, maybe, right? It probably frustrates some people, but I kind of like that there's some mystery to it. And it even spawns debates like this, right? On what should we be doing, and even in your game, you know, what should we be doing? I don't know. It's a double-edged sword for me. I feel like I like the mystery of it.
Third-party programs, like wasn't there like Curse Voice or like some like third-party shit in Overwatch, and then like Blizzard like would ban people for it? Wasn't there a thing like that? I swear there was like a third-party thing, that program that was bad. I promise I'm not hacking. Okay, I'm not that. It's not that kind of program. But I got banned for hacks. I don't know what happened. It's helping me play the game, but I wonder if Blizzard would just block it.
There probably was, and it probably was Blizzard's inclination to stop things like that. Like they very rarely have. Old Blizzard, and you know we're gonna call it old Blizzard because you know when Overwatch launched, it was very much still old Blizzard. Never liked collaborating with anyone else, right? They never liked having out like third-party tournament organizers or third-party, you know, that's why Overwatch League came about, and third-party software for sure. So yeah, I can imagine there probably was this program that you talk about, Lemon, but yeah, there probably was banned. But again, there's no reason for Blizzard not to try and monetize it themselves. Like Dota Plus is a monetizable thing. I'm sure Overwatch Plus could be a monetizable thing too if they wanted it to be.
Or just like third parties like mobile, like I use Mobalytics a lot, and they actually hire like really high rank content creators or casters even to write guides for them. And there's like an overlay, and obviously there's like a paid version, there's a free version, but I think that could easily be developed. And I feel like you can even look at what people do for Valorant, even though I know it's a different game, blah, 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 blah. But in terms of how to use your abilities, how to position on certain maps, how to play with certain heroes, these are all things that are guides in Valorant that can be easily used for Overwatch, or at least mimicked in that type of way. But I don't know if Blizzard would ever prioritize this, because obviously workforce is kind of down right now. But I definitely think things like Mobalytics could come out, like programs like that could come out and just hire, you know, one of us or just really anyone like a Jake type to go and just create the guide to how to play, or might as well get Karki more money. It's just one tip for every hero, make it a little overlay, and here's a tip for Moira, or you might regret your decision on this hero, but here's how you can get the most value out of Moira, and that would help a lot, I think.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think that it's really difficult for me though sometimes to be motivated to look into like, this is where I need to be on this map, and this is what, just because there's so many factors based on your teammates and where they are. Like if you have like, you don't know if your tank's gonna go on the high ground or the low ground or push around that corner or whatever, because everyone's so uncoordinated, especially at our rank, like in plat. So it's like, ideally I do want that, but I think I'm always hesitant to look into guides because I'm like, well, I know I'm probably not going to be able to stand there because my tank's not going to be in line of sight when I am there, and they're not going to be in voice chat to listen to me, try to tell them they need to be here. So, but maybe if something like that existed for like all different heroes and it was easy for everyone to access, then like everyone could use them to work together. But that would be, that's just a dream.
Well,
the dream.
I mean, in truth, I don't think you're going to get people, like, the whole point of an educational guide or anything is that by its very nature, the people who don't care will not use them. They're just meant to be there to help the people who do want to learn and improve, just to have some grounding for something, like some way of getting better, like at the early stage. They're the training wheels of anything, right? It's just like, recently I got into Magic the Gathering, and it's like, I don't know what all the fucking cards are. Like, I don't know what the fucking I don't know if this card is particular. It's hard to gauge when you get into a new card game which card is good and which card is bad, because you can read a card and be like, that sounds pretty good, and then you realize after you play it a few times, you're like, no, the effect sounds good, but it only it only comes into play very little time, or maybe the tempo of this card is too bad, right? Like, yes, it's powerful, but it costs too much to play, and by the time it's effective, the game is already lost. So like, these subtle things you're gonna discover by yourself.
Yeah,
but it's nice to have
Overwatch players feel.
Exactly, right? It's like
with all the heroes.
but it's nice to just have a thing that tells you this is a good card right now. Like, you should.
Yeah,
like,
especially against this deck or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, just do these things. Like, it's just there as a guiding principle to like help you somewhat, so you're not completely in the wilderness. Where if I'm doing a draft, I love to play the draft mode. I recently got to Mythic actually, so I don't, I'm pretty good. But
heck yeah,
when you open the draft, it's like especially when I would do it early on, I didn't know the card packs. It's 20, 30 cards. Like, I've never seen any of them, and I've got to pick one in like 45 seconds. So it's like, I don't have the time. And that's the same way the new player or even a beginner player of Overwatch will feel when they get thrown into the game, and they're like, oh my god, there's 40 heroes. This lobby starts, and there's like, oh god, what does that guy do again? What can he do? Oh god, where am I supposed to play on this map? Where's the mega health? So much to think about, that anything that gives you like a vague guiding light, I think, would be helpful. Any thoughts on this topic before we kind of head to a different topic and towards the concluding thoughts? No?
All good.
Okay, well, before we go to concluding, does any other things that you guys feel are like middle rank issues that don't get discussed enough, especially, in light of, like, as we've spoken about, a lot of the dominant contra creator voices are very high elo. So do you feel like there's things that don't get talked about enough, or maybe are misrepresented about the middle ranks that you want to bring up?
I think people who are not GM can still have good takes about the game, and I think people who are GM can still have bad takes about the game. And I think we need to put ranks aside when we have discussions and consider what the material is that is being presented. Just saying like that, because I feel like the loudest majority is always like GMs on the timeline, like spouting all types of stuff, and sometimes they're really based, sometimes they really know their shit, and sometimes they're extremely biased for their hero, their role, and they kind of aren't self-aware about that. But I also know that a lot of frustration comes from maybe not feeling heard, or not having the channels be heard that they're using, or whatever. And then there's some people who are also like content baiting or engagement baiting, or just trying to be hating on Overwatch, because hating on Overwatch gets more clicks than liking Overwatch. So I feel like a lot of the productive conversations get lost on shit that doesn't matter, like rank or really whatever time spent on the game. And I don't think casuals should always be dismissed because they're the majority of the player base. And just because, you know, a faker can min-max a hero and therefore it doesn't need to be buffed or nerfed because I have found the max way to get the most value out of this hero, doesn't mean like 80% of the people that play the hero are gonna find the same value you are. And there needs to be some kind of middle ground between the two audiences, and it can't just be about the pros. As much as I love the pros and I cast the pros all the time, there's a player base we got to maintain too.
Yeah, I would say like be nicer to like people lower ranked than you. Don't be an elitist because you're higher ranked than someone. Like don't shit talk a bronze because they're bronze, and like be nice to people. Don't be elitist because of your rank versus someone else. That's not nice.
Yeah, people get very weird with their rank elitism. Like it was funny because the other day I'm on an alt account. Even this alt account is like GM on tank, but I was playing support, which was like plat. And I'm in like a plat lobby, and some guy is like, God, I forgot how stupid it is to play with plats. And I looked at his profile, and he was like Diamond 4. And I was like,
Yes.
There's no fucking way, my guy, you're having an ego here. There's no fucking way you're like, the plats, am I right? And it's like, bro, you should shut the fuck up. Like, just play the game. You're an idiot.
I'm saying, I just had one of those games where like, oh yeah, I forgot that's how plats play. I forgot. And I was like, I mean, you came to our rank, so I don't, if you're not our rank, then like, go to yours. I don't know what to tell you. Like, but yeah, I hope that it's getting better. And I don't know if it's just that I'm personally like just caring less about what other people think, but or maybe it's becoming better that rank really isn't everything, and that it's perfectly okay like to, I don't know, I feel like the general player base needs to accept that some people, like myself, are perfectly happy being in the middle, like just being plat, you know, or like not everyone has the goal of, I need to make it to GM, I need to be top 500, I need to be this. Like not everyone has that mindset, and I think it needs to be more accepted and just and not shit on, you know, like, oh, if you're plat, you're bad, you know. And it's like, there's so many people that play this game, and not everyone is going to be amazing at it, but that doesn't mean that those people are not deserving to have a good experience and enjoy the game and not feel like shit because they're not a certain rank, you know. So I've always been like the plat diamond Overwatch streamer almost my whole career. I mean, like I said, I did make it to, I was at the beginning like diamond masters, whatever, but I was also one tricking mercy, and that got boring for me. So I you know, I changed things, and I just wish people were more understanding that not everyone wants to be the best. Some people just want to enjoy it, and I hope it's getting better, because I'll probably always be a plat diamond Overwatch streamer and player, and as long as I'm happy there, then I like other people need to accept that. And I just want everyone to know that if you are like diamond or lower, like I hope that this conversation here brings a little bit of awareness, and just like I hope you feel a little bit more seen and are not embarrassed to be like, oh, I'm not masters or I'm not GM, because some people put way too much into their rank and I don't understand it. So I just hope everyone understands that you don't have to be a high rank to enjoy the game, and like we can all just have fun and plat together, okay? So but yeah, I do feel like it's getting better though. Like, or maybe I just don't care as much.
Well, that leads well into what kind of what I was going to ask, basically, is the concluding thoughts of, you know, what would you guys like to see changed or different, or an attitude? It doesn't have to be a tangible change. It could just be an attitude change that you think would like help generally in like the medal ranks, right? So it could be that you like Lemon said, it could be that you want a better educational system within the game. It could be that, I want better tools for people who are in the metal ranks. It could be I want to see more content from metal rank players. Like I want to see more metal rank streamers or whatever. Or maybe you want to see more discussions around the metal ranks. Or maybe you want the dev team to do something and have like, certain balance changes or whatever it is. So go ahead and give me your thoughts for what you think will kind of help the metal ranks a lot. We'll go with Lemon first. Lemon, what would help the metal ranks?
Well, the educational, like any kind of third-party software would be sick. Looking for group thing back would be sick. I had other things. I'm blanking. General attitude change. I mean, I know the game's in like a weird state, so I think like a lot of the attitudes have changed over time. Like I think during the off season you'll have like less motivation from maybe even the top 500. I mean, I hear a lot of complaints from that area too, of just like people not being as motivated to sweat and try hard and try to win. It'd be nice to have more incentives for like climbing ranks or doing certain things. I feel like the fact that we don't have a PBE or like a test realm, if you call it, means that we kind of just have to raw dog a lot of fucking balance changes, and we just have to find out live if it's good or bad. Maybe they have their own test realm, but it like TFT has a test realm that is so important, and that gets actually tested by high ranked players, and then that kind of helps determine if that patch goes through, if it needs to be tweaked. And I remember when we had a test realm, the devs said that just there's not enough data being produced from it, or it's just not enough people are using it, so they just like got rid of it. So then that's a huge letdown. I think that would help balance a lot. And if there was a good mix, but then there needs to be incentives to using that, and maybe like a more transparent communication between the devs, because like in that, my example of TFT, again, different game, but the premise that the devs are super transparent. They're like on Twitter, replying to people, talking about balance, putting out the patch notes, putting out dates of patch notes, talking about every single little idea. And I know that like the patch notes talk about descriptions of why they're doing certain things, but when the PBE or like a test realm gets released with certain stuff, like the devs are there talking to the players. And I think that type of relationship would help balance a lot, but it also puts those devs at such a mental risk of just getting bombarded more than they already do. And then metal ranks, I'm surprised that like Metafy coaching isn't bigger in Overwatch, or just coaching in general. It's actually cool in the off season. A lot of Overwatch League players are starting to give out coaching lessons, and I've been pushing for players to do that instead of boosting, which is like the profitable thing that unfortunately people have to do to like make a living sometimes in this game. They could actually do that by coaching and like incentivizing people to get coaching. Because there's some really incredible players out there that are really good teachers, and I think they could get good experience coaching people. And I'm surprised that that's just not bigger in games like this. But yeah, just a ton of things, and the balance is what direction that goes in is its own argument. But yeah, there's just a few things I would like changed.
Nice, I like it. Bame, how about you?
In general, I'm pretty happy with Overwatch. I played every day for 3 hours. I think just for everyone out there, just be more kind to people. I think like how many positive like comms do you have with your teammates? Is it maybe 2 out of 10 where it's like a positive team? Like usually it's just negative. I think just let's be more kind to each other.
Damn, just hitting us with
Yeah.
the feels. Cuppcaake, how about you? What would you like to see changed?
I mean, I'm also pretty happy with Overwatch just because I'm having fun, and that's what most important to me. Because if I'm not having a good time, then I'm not making good content, and no one's gonna watch the stream. Like no one wants to watch someone just like upset all the time, right? So I always try to look at things in a positive like way. And I know that you can't always just be like positive all the time. Like that's not realistic, and it's like really draining, and I can't do that. But I think that just the overall attitude towards your teammates, I think that people still very much go into these lobbies with the mindset of like, I don't know these people. I don't give a fuck if I hurt their feelings. I don't care what I say. I don't care. Like, if we're lose, I'm gonna blame this person. I'm gonna, because I'm very much like I said, I'm very easygoing, and I do wish that other people had just like a little bit more empathy and compassion towards other people, even if they don't know them and they're just randoms in their lobby. And I know that's like not something that Blizzard can change, or it's not something that like I can ask and will receive. It's more just like wishful thinking. Just like if there's anyone watching this that is very easily like irritated in game, which I totally understand, like it happens, but I noticed from like my chat, there's a lot of people that will straight up tell me like I've had to take a break from Overwatch because I was getting too upset, and like I would say things that I don't like that I said, and I just wish people would just take just a second to be mindful. And I try to say this a lot, especially if I'm having someone that's having like a really toxic outburst or something. Like I tell my chat, like, okay, just remember that this is on them and to not let it affect you. And like, you don't have to react. You don't have to feed into it. You don't have to, like, it's totally valid to want to express, whenever you're in a shitty lobby or whatever, but like you don't need to feed into it. And I just wish that everyone would just be a little bit more mindful of how they treat other people and their random lobbies, even if you don't know them. Like, you never know what someone's going through. And I think that if everyone just had a little bit more better outlook, a little bit more empathy to their teammates, I think everyone would have much better games, which I know, again, this is like not realistic. This is just like wishful thinking out loud. But I know that my favorite games are the ones where people are not like yelling and putting blame on people, because it's very easy to do. Like, there's a lot of times tanks will go in and do something stupid, or DPS or whatever, and I could very well be like, you're doing this wrong and you're shit, and I choose not to, and I wish everyone else would choose not to. And it sucks whenever like you make a mistake and then you have someone like call you out and you're like, why would you fucking do that? Like, why would you nade that, or why would you waste blah blah blah? And it's like, man, like, I don't do this to you, like, don't do it to me. You know what I mean? Just like deep breaths, be mindful that these are people that you're playing with, okay? And just try to make the experience better for everyone. But again, I know this isn't like a change, just wishful thinking, but I just want to inspire anyone who might get really frustrated in their games to practice mindfulness and just a little bit, because we're all like people just trying to get through. Like, this year is already starting out really shit. I don't know about y'all, but this year is not it so far. Like, I'm having tons of technical difficulties right now. Like, just everything seems to be going south, and it's really frustrating. So when I play Overwatch, like, I am choosing not to take any frustration out in my games against random people, and I just really, really want everyone else to do the same. So yeah.
No, that was really well said. I think it'd be cool to have a podcast where it's just like you have 2 medal ranks and then 2 like GMs on a certain role discuss balance, just to like see the different perspectives of like
fun.
What feels strong, what doesn't, or like what are what would you swap to in this situation, or how do you think about the game? And a little inspiration for SVB to get to kind of compare kind of the mindsets and what are the biggest challenges in certain situations, because I think we all see the game really differently. And maybe sometimes we see the game the same way, and we're just different ranks, and shit happens. So it'd be cool to see how different the opinions are based on the ranks.
Yeah, it would be nice to feel a little bit more unified, I think, as a community too, because it does feel a little isolating down in the middle ranks compared to like, especially as a streamer, with all your like top 500 GM like fellow streamers. It's like I can't relate to them in a lot of things. Like, I do very much feel like in my own little world a lot of times, even though I know I'm not alone, but it just does feel that way because like I said, the GM top 500 streamers, they're just a lot more louder and a lot more opinionated and stuff, which I think which is great. But I do know that it would be nice to have more community events that focus more on like medal ranks. You know, especially with like tournaments and things, they're always about like the best of the best, and like we just have to sit here and not participate. And like I would like to participate in more things. Like I know a couple times I've been invited to Twitch Rivals and stuff, which was really awesome because they wanted to have like a plat player and a masters and a GM. You know, they wanted it to be a wide range on both sides, and like that was really fun. But like we don't really get things like that very much. So yeah, it would be nice to have more things. I know Freya did a tournament that focused on like plat or something, or like yeah, I think it was plat.
I made it to the finals. I almost won it.
Dude, I was
nice.
upset because the requirement was you couldn't have reached diamond like the previous season, and that one season I did like hit diamond for a second, and I was like, man, I can't participate in that either. Like, I was so upset. I was like, why did I have to do it so good last season? Like,
I won an SVB Masters tournament.
You did.
Ooh,
I do.
nice.
I would love to see more stuff like that, but like, you know, where us and plat can feel included and like do cool things and show our cool skills, because just because we're in plat like does not necessarily mean like we're bad. Like I do a lot of really cool shit, like, you know, and I'm always like, this was like, that's what makes it fun. I'm like, that was so cool, like that was so big brain, or like that moment, like my reaction was just like perfect, and like, you know, it's fun to like hype myself up, and like I can do that even though I'm plat. Like it doesn't mean I'm just like don't care about the game, or I don't try, or I'm just like whatever. Like I'm still like, I put so much effort into this game, and I know that my rank says I'm not the best, but I still enjoy it, and I just wish I could have more people to relate to in that sense, I think.
Yeah, great. A lot of great points there. All I'll add is that from as the perspective of someone who has organized in the past many tournaments for players in the medal ranks, Lemonkiwi knows. Lemon's casted with me. Bame's played in them in the medal
Where's
cups.
I?
Well, I don't know. You didn't sign up, apparently. Bame signed up. But this was
very like chronically like offline outside of like being live on stream. I'm like, I don't do social media really. Like I'm not anywhere,
I mean,
so I probably just miss out on.
well, to be fair, this was in Overwatch 1, and I haven't done anything near that in Overwatch 2. And the reason I was gonna say is the reason is that tournament organizing is just a complete hell, and I wish the best to anyone who does it. But
I know.
Even organizing streamer events is like quite the mental and physical effort, and so I don't know. Like I think everyone who does it, like, props to you. We did quite a few, and it just like burned such a hole in all me and the mods who organized it. So it's tough, but it would be nice if maybe Blizzard could invest in those things at least. So yeah. Anything else you guys want to mention before I let you get going? No.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. I hope everyone watching enjoyed this conversation and having a little bit different perspective outside of GM or top 500, because we very much exist down here, and I think a lot of people watching, like a lot of people that watch these like are also in plat and like medal ranks, and which is why like I always say I'm happy to be like the plat streamer, because I mean, someone's got to do it, right? Okay, like so yeah, we exist.
Yeah, I hope we didn't say anything too hot takey, but
yeah, or
at
too
the end of the day,
cringe. Like, oh, these damn metal rank mindsets. Oh, they're so bad. I'm sure. I mean, we'll get the comments. We already know. Oh my god, I can't believe they think like that. That's why they're stuck in flat.
Well, I mean,
it's like we all love the game.
Nice. Yeah,
we all love the game at the end of the day, and
exactly.
Hopefully, it gets better.
Yeah.
I would just like to say thanks to SVB. Oh, thanks to SVB.
You go.
Love your content. I've been a Grandmaster Patreon of yours for probably over a year now. So check the Patreon for SVB.
Hell yeah.
Me personally, I just want to I'm going to San Diego for 34 days and 8 days. So February 4th, I'll be in San Diego. I've got my IRL stream set up coming in. I just had like 8 more boxes delivered today. I'm excited to get out and have fun. 2023 was my self-improvement year. 2024 is going to be my social year. So I'm just really pumped, and I just want to say that I'm excited to be 5 minutes from the beach for 34 days at least. I might even stay longer. I don't know.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's what it's all about. See, that's what the world of potential when you're not grinding Overwatch all the time. You can go outside and touch grass.
Yeah, go touch grass.
Or sand.
Or sand.
I'll be touching sand, bro.
Or sand and beaches. No, yeah, I mean,
I'll be playing competitive DPS games on the beach, dude, with my mobile connection, bro.
I love
Throwing
it.
them, dude.
I love it, dude. Yeah, no, I was to Cuppcake's point. Like, I think you guys have been, really, really sweet and really wholesome and very positive, which has been really great. We often, sometimes on the podcast, we spend a lot of time complaining, which is, how it is. And it is part of the process. But, seeing your guys' attitude is like so, yeah, it's just very wholesome. You're very like accepting and sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? You just kind of take things as they go, laissez-faire. You're very like chill. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate your perspective coming in. Please go show these guys some love if you're listening now or in the future in YouTube, whatever. Please do go show these guys some love.
And be nice in those comments.
I mean, the comments, like, there doesn't matter who I have on. There's always some set of people who are very upset, like, about whatever
I know.
it is.
Again, mindfulness, okay? Whew, saw.
Oh, we're just so grown. We just like once you grow up, man, you just like stop caring about stupid shit. And
yeah, people can say anything hurtful to me these days, but like in game, and I'm just like, okay. But like in Overwatch 1, like 7 years ago, someone would say something mean to me, and I'd be like, "What do you mean? Why would you say that?"
Bro, there's 4 billion people on the internet, man. Fuck them, dude.
I was like, okay.
You're so funny.
And hopefully we can all channel that energy into our lives of just chilling, just don't give a shit. 4 billion people on the internet, whatever, man. So I appreciate you guys. They ain't special. You ain't special, man. I appreciate Lemonkiwi, Bame, and Cuppcaake for coming through. Really appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, week, or whatever. Since I see you next, hopefully you'll see you guys and talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.
That's bye.
Thank you.